Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Curly, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. This is the final entry in the limited series run of initial Scream 7 reactions. This one involves the big group of the Patreon of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. First, you're going to hear from me and my friend Carrie, who came and saw Scream 7 with me in person, and we did a little live reaction. And then you're going to hear the big group Zooms. There are two parts of people within the Scream with Ryan C. Showers community who came out to give their initial thoughts on Scream 7. This is the end of the limited series run. That I couldn't be more grateful for everybody out there who listens to the show, who supports my podcast here, listening every episode, or on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you would like to become a member of the podcast, come to the group Zooms, be on the show on a one-on-one or small group setting, consider joining the Patreon with Scream with Ryan C. Showers. In addition to the benefits of coming on the podcast, you can also join our social media groups, in particular on Instagram. That's the main hub of the podcast. I also do a monthly audio commentary of a Scream movie or a Scream-related film. From now through April, we are going to be having a new Scream movie audio commentary. So if you would like to hear my thoughts in an audio commentary form in the style of Wes Craven, Marion Maddalena, et al. Of the original trilogy, please consider subscribing and supporting the show. Thank you to every single person out there who subscribes on Patreon. So I need to thank TJ Jones, who does all of the graphic design work for the podcast, and Ashley Summers, who helps me produce the show every week. In addition, I need to thank everybody over at Patreon, including the Stab Investors and Daddy Ghostfaces. The Daddy/Mama Ghostfaces, they include Carrie Tenney, Corey Wilson, Andrew Dominguez, and Brett Janovich. I also need to thank all of my Stab investors. They include Mark Harim, Josh Carr, Allie, Tamika Jones, Christian Ranke, David D., Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nabrini, aka The Vault, John Cardney, Josh Camillari, Scream Queens Podcast, both Josh and Justine, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWGO5, aka Philip Douglas, Roy Garza from the Hoodie Talks podcast, Ryan Not Dying Young, Sam Levy, and Stevie Shears. Hello. This is Ryan C. Showers. I'm coming to you on March 14th, 2026. March 14th is Kevin Williamson's birthday, so this is going to be airing at a later date. But everyone, I'm just wishing Kevin Williamson a happy birthday. I sent a nice post to him. He shared it on his Instagram story. So thanks, Kevin. But before we go any further, I want to just share with everybody, I'm just getting back from the movie theater. I went to see Scream 7 for the 5th time with my sister, Abby Showers, of course, and a special friend, the Mama Ghostface of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. Everyone, please welcome Carrie Tenney. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Well, Carrie, I'm really, really happy that you came up to Pennsylvania and were able to see Scream 7 with me.
I'm so happy. I can't think of anything better.
Well, so what are your updated thoughts on Scream 7 now that you've seen it? How many times?
Today was my 4th viewing of it in the theater.
So, Carrie, what are your thoughts on Scream 7 in terms of like your review of the movie?
I really loved the character development, and especially loved more authentic moments, especially under Kevin's writing with Sydney and with Gail. Really felt that you could really feel his writing and his love and warmth and depth for these characters. Other than that, I do say that from beginning to end, I really enjoyed the movie. I do have my gripes about it, my little nitpicks, but I think we all do. I'm more of a person who thinks less is more with horror films, so I'm not a big fan of gore, but I know sometimes it can't be helped.
So Carrie is, of course, referring to Lucas's death in particular, which is so Carrie's favorite sequel is Scream 4. And I kind of said, well, it kind of reminds me of like the fuck Bruce Willis kind of death. But, what are your thoughts on specifically Carrie? So you said something that stuck with me. I've wanted to talk to you about it since the movie came out. You said to me something you wanted from Scream 7 was you kind of missed the humor. You missed the Kevin Williamson humor. And I thought that struck me because I find 5 and 6 to be humorous, but not in the good way, not in the Kevin Williamson way, but they're just, they're a different kind of brand of humor. Do you think that the Kevin Williamson cleverness of 1, 2, and 4, that it's back here, or were you satisfied on that level?
I did find some humor moments, not nearly as much as the original, such as 1 and 2. I definitely would have liked some more humor, but I definitely felt that it was a little bit much more lighter than the past 2 films.
Cool. Well, last question is about Sydney and Gail and Tatum. So I feel like they are the MVPs of the movie. I mean, they are the main characters. They have the most screen time of anybody. Is there anything you'd like to share about our 3 queens here? Like, I just, we're getting off of that, seeing it again. Like, I'm in awe of Neve Campbell in her work here. I'm in awe of Gail Weathers. Like, just the energy and the humor. I see the Gail from Scream 4 in Scream 7. Like, that's who I see. It's like a continuation of her directly. It makes me so happy. And I just think the world of Isabel May. I think she's introduced so well here. It's almost like this is the prologue of Tatum, if that makes sense. I don't think this is fully her story because this is Sydney's story, of course. But this is like the beginning part of her story before the real story starts, which I think is going to be in Scream 8. What are your thoughts?
Well, actually, my favorite Gale of the whole franchise is Scream 2 Gale.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, Neve Campbell is amazing. I definitely do agree with you that this was definitely a prologue for Tatum. I definitely see her going forward in maybe future films in the lead role. I don't think we'll ever forget or leave out Sydney, but I just definitely think that that's where the future is. Coming back to Neve, I do have to say, quote what Neve Campbell told me was her favorite line, "Don't fuck with the original."
Well, and I love that Sydney gets that line again, the past my prime. Fuck you, It's just so funny, like, she says it in a different way. Like, I kind of didn't really notice it until this viewing, her specific change and like her volume. I don't know if it's very subtle, but like she says past my prime in a very quiet voice, and then she kind of annoyedly she says fuck you.
It's just like the line towards the beginning of the movie, "Fucking motherhood."
Exactly. So, but well, Carrie, anything else you want to share about the movie? Do you want to share your new ranking?
Okay, so my new ranking for the franchise is 1, 4, 2, 3, 7, 5, 6.
Well, as a Scream 3 person, I approve. But, so no, and my ranking as of now, like, is 3, 1, 2, 4, 7, 4, 5, 6. But honestly, like, the films where Neve Campbell's the lead, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. I just have so much love for them. To rank them is so difficult. I really like 5, 6, way down. So, anyways, Carrie, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just also want to say happy birthday, Kevin Williamson. I hope you know how much these movies mean to me and to a lot of people. You are a master at what you do, and I can't wait to see what you do next, whatever it is. Thank you for Scream, and thank you for Dawson's Creek too.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much. This is fun. So this is one of the very few live recordings we've done, like where Carrie and I are literally sitting here side by side, in the same room talking. Well, everybody, please enjoy the rest of the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me. So we're sitting here with some Patreons here. We talk about Scream 7, which is so cool. So I'm dying to hear what people have to say in the Patreon. We've already had some trickling out of reviews, and I've, of course, talked to people offline, but I'd love to hear what my friends think of this. So I'm going to start with the Courtney Cox expert of the group, my friend Brendan. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, Ryan, and thank you for the Courtney Cox expert title. I love that.
You're one of the few people who has actually met her, and not only has a picture with her, but has her autograph of the picture. Like her autographs are not easy to come by.
Meeting her was a dream come true. It's something that like I kind of put out in the universe a couple years ago. It's like I would love to meet her sometime before I die. And then 4 months later, I met her. So I thought it was kismet or whatever. Like, it was amazing.
Well, so and not to just start off talking about Gail Weathers, but I want to know, did Gail Weathers, was she redeemed from Scream 6 to Scream 7 for you?
Gail Weathers in Scream 7 is incredible. What just to preface, Gail Weathers is my favorite like fictional character of all time. So
Yeah.
out of any character in any type of media, Gail Weathers is my number one. I love her. I've loved her since I was like 12 years old. So she's everything to me. And her in 7 did not disappoint. We got all the kind of character scenes that, were kind of missing in 6. It was amazing. Her entrance was incredible. I screamed, the audience screamed. Even like I've seen the movie 6 times, even on like subsequent viewings when the audience has been smaller and not kind of that opening crowd, people still clapped, which is incredible. Watching her relationship with Sydney unfold in this movie is incredible. I think it's some of the best kind of character work and scenes we've had between the two of them. The movie in general, I feel like the character development with our kind of with Sydney's family and Gail and our returning cast members is some of the best character development I think we've seen in the franchise. And her, Courtney and Nev's scenes together were unbelievable. So it's everything I could have wanted, probably, and more so. And just the epilogue alone is one of the best epilogues we've ever had. And the scene with Courtney and Nev is incredible. I mean, the scene with Nev and Tatum is incredible. So I was so impressed. I loved it. No complaints with how Gail was treated. So I loved it. And we had the big kind of set piece chase scene with her in 6. So I felt satisfied with that. And this movie, I'm glad we got to concentrate on kind of the character and the scenes and the development. So I was a fan of how they did it.
So, Brendan, can you guess what my favorite scene in Scream 7 is?
Oh God. I mean, it might be the epilogue or it might be the Gail and Sydney in the studio after the interview happens.
Gail Weathers holding her shoulder in pain,
Yes.
hiding the pills from Sydney. That changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, it showed so much, like there was so much even development. There's not even any really lines in that scene, but it just showed. And then how Nev is like such a great actress and what she conveys in just her face alone watching it, there was it deepens kind of the understanding of how she sees Gail and everything. So I thought it was incredible. It's such a good scene. Loved it.
So, Brendan, what is your new ranking with Scream 7 now that we have it?
All right. So it's tough because I'm going to just go like kind of how I'm feeling right now. So I would say it's 3, 2, and those are really solidified for me in the top 2 places. Those don't really move. So 3 and 2 are there. Then I'm going to go 7, 4. And those are really 7, 4, and 1 can kind of be interchangeable depending on how I'm feeling or how I'm ranking them. So it'd be 3, 2, let's say 7, 4, 1, 5, 6. And I know maybe that's kind of like sacrilegious to put 1 so low, but if I'm watching these, 1 is a perfect film. It's amazing. But if I'm watching it, I love these movies for the characters. And as we go through the franchise, I love the development we have with the trio, in the first 4. And what I enjoy about these movies is the character and the development. And I just find it to be more interesting in the later movies than the first one. It's no knocking the first one. The first one's a great movie, but that's where it's lying right now.
Awesome. Well, so what is your favorite scene in Scream 7?
There's so many, I love the epilogue scene. It's really the character scenes that are that are the highlight for me. So the epilogue scene, Gail and Sydney in the studio are my probably 2 favorite scenes. But if I'm talking about like sequences and like set pieces, I love the home invasion with Sydney and her family because I think it tells us so much about them and how they work as a family unit. So I love, even before the wall scene, what I love is that scene with Sydney, Tatum, Mark, and Ghostface and how they fight and outsmart Ghostface as a family unit non-verbally. It was like kind of beautiful where you have Tatum duck and then they go and then the knife gets kicked out and Sydney kicks the knife, and just seeing them work as a family unit, I thought was beautiful and kind of tells so much about them as a family without any lines really. So I think that is my favorite of like the set piece scenes is that whole home invasion with the wall and then out on the lawn and then Gail's entrance. So that is my favorite like set piece scene. And then my favorite character scenes are Gail in the studio with Nev, and then probably the epilogue.
You know, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror because that's literally my exact opinion here. So Brendan, what are your thoughts on Anna Camp as the killer and the finale overall?
Sure. So Anna Camp, great. Like the acting is great. It's top tier. I'm going to give you kind of my journey with how I felt about the finale. So the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, like I liked Anna. I thought it felt fast and I didn't know if I loved the motive. On subsequent viewings, I have enjoyed the motive now. And I feel like it's actually a very clever and cool and different motive than we've seen. I just feel like there was a couple things missing. So I thought we needed a line or two about Anna Camp's goal at the end. Did she want to get away with it? Maybe she didn't want to get away with it. Like I feel like a couple of pieces of dialogue into that, we know kind of what her goal was, but did she want to get away with it? Where was she going to end up at the end? That's the only kind of tweak that I thought really was necessary. But watching her and Nev fight, amazing. Anna Camp looks fucking crazy with the eyes, with the makeup. Like her performance is excellent. I love the finale. I love like the Mark Tatum Sydney of the finale. Again, it's kind of cementing them as a family unit, which is what the movie kind of is. I miss Gail in the finale? I would have loved to see Gail, but I understand why she wasn't in it because they're setting this movie up. It's a Sydney family movie, and they're kind of setting Tatum up, to kind of go forward in the franchise. So I totally understand why Gail wasn't in it, and she got the epilogue. So I was more than happy. So I think it's a great finale. I think with a couple of tweaks, with some dialogue, it could have been even better. Anna Camp, excellent actress, excellent performance. I enjoy it. I have fun watching it. So I liked it.
Awesome. Well, anything you want to share about Nev and Sydney since this was like her big return?
It was actually, if I'm going like on Nev's performance, it's actually probably my favorite version of Sydney and my favorite Nev performance. I don't think it's the surprise. Like, listen, like I'm a gay guy. I love like mature, fierce women. So seeing Sydney in kind of this mature, role, there's so much history behind it. Like the way she plays it, her acting is so good. Seeing her be a mom, seeing her how the choices she's made as a mother, seeing like seeing her and Mark and that dynamic. It was just I loved this version of Sydney. She's so tough, she's so strong, she's so smart. Watching her, just the little choices of her like in the wall, like bending a knife, just those little things that we see. She is so smart, she's so on top of it, and I love seeing how like strong and like incredible she is. So it's my personal favorite Sydney we've seen, and there's been incredible versions of this character throughout the years. So I think that's saying a lot. I loved seeing this version of her.
Well, it's funny. You could have like a Scream 7 had a subtitle. It would be like Scream 7, mature, fierce women. I don't know. So
Yeah.
meaning Sydney and Gale. So,
Yes.
but Brendan, any final thoughts you want to share about Scream 7?
I think I kind of summed it up, but like the movie is so much fun. I'm going to see it again for the seventh time. I was like, I got to see it at least 7 times for Scream 7. I've had a lot of fun watching it. I think the real strong point of this movie is the characters, and that's why I watch Scream. I watch Scream because I love the characters. I love seeing how the relationships change over the course of 30 years, and I thought the character scenes with Nev and her family and Courtney were the strongest part of this movie, and that's why I enjoy rewatching these movies. It's not for the set pieces or the intense scenes. I rewatch these movies because I like to see the story of the characters, and I thought this movie had really strong, character scenes and work. So I loved it.
That's a great way of putting it because like I asked you about your favorite scene and you said the set piece at the house. And the reason that set piece is so good is because it exposes so much about the characters, about Sydney. Like even that act of Sydney banging the knife to get it to bend, one of my favorite parts of the movie. I know that sounds so silly, but just like those 5 seconds, I'm just like, damn, that is our girl. So, but I prefer something like that as opposed to kind of just like an emptier set piece that maybe suspenseful or beautifully constructed, set piece like with Sydney's family where we get to see them blossom as a family under these conditions. I think that to me was like one of the huge highlights of the movie, even compared to, the opening or the bar scene. Like there's no question that this would be my preference over those set pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay. Next up, I'm going to a new Patreon. Please welcome my friend Ian.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome and thank you for joining the club.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I've just enjoyed all your podcasts. I'm like, I just need to join finally.
Well, sending you a big hug through Zoom here. So, I would love to hear your Scream story and your speed round question answers a second time. But today we're just going to focus on Scream 7. So, your introduction to the Scream with Ryan C. Showers universe is Scream 7. So, why don't you hit me with it? What did you think of the movie?
I loved it. I mean, I walked out of 5 and 6 feeling not great. And so leaving a Scream film that I felt so good about felt amazing again. Because the first Scream movie I saw was Scream 4, and I loved it. And I felt that feeling of going back to the theater again for Scream 7. And especially being in New York, the audience just goes nuts. Seeing it over and over and getting those same reactions was incredible.
That's awesome. Well, so Scream 4 was the first movie you saw. So, what was your ranking pre Scream 7 and where does 7 fit into it now?
Okay, I believe it was 1, 4,
Mhm.
uh, 5, 6, 3, 2. I
Okay.
think 7's just right in the middle there after 1, 4, 5.
Well, cool. I like it. I like it a lot. So, what did you think of this movie recentering around Sydney and her family?
I just love seeing Sydney happy with her husband, like, that moment when she's in bed with Mark and seeing her laugh finally, I just feel like I haven't seen her that happy in so long. So seeing her dynamic, 'cause I was worried at the beginning if she was just gonna be the strict mom, but seeing her laugh and smile, it was such a good dynamic, and I completely agree about the home invasion scene, seeing them all work together, that was definitely my favorite moment in the movie.
Awesome. Well, so you mentioned that you're a Scream 4 person. And when it comes to Gail Weathers, Gail in Scream 4 is one of my favorite versions of her. And I felt as soon as she got out of the car, that line, did I get him? And then the fucks just start flying, right? I was like, ooh, I feel like I have Gail in Scream 4 back. Did you have a similar experience?
I had the same experience, and I just thought she was so the fierceness from her, the lines that Kevin was giving her, I just felt like it was the old Gail that I fell in love with, and this is, I think, one of my favorite Gail performances ever. Every moment is so good with her, not only comedic, but
Mhm.
emotionally. In the newsroom, I really felt it when she was touching her back, anytime she reached to take a pill. I mean, what she went through in 6 was so horrendous, and I'm so glad they didn't give her the Mason Gooding where he doesn't have anything wrong with him, because I think when horror films continue not just the mental effects of it, but also the physical. One thing I always noted, I don't know anyone's thoughts on Terrifier, but what I really liked about Terrifier 3 was that they continued with the scars on their face. I thought that was such a good thing to continue because I feel like we always talk about the mental aspect, but never the physical. And what they did with Courtney in this, I just thought was really well done. And they didn't just brush past it.
So, what did you think of the killer reveal, Anna Camp, Jessica, et cetera, et cetera?
I think the first time I saw it, I was a little confused. The
Mhm.
second time it locked in and I understood it. Hearing Anna Camp's interview that she recently came out with, my feelings have shifted a little of what she's added on, what was originally there, the scene they added, per her request. It just got a little messy for me, but I thought she was fantastic and I loved the fight at the end. It was everything, I was hoping for. I Know What You Did Last Summer with Julie James. Julie James was just standing there. I'm like, I hope to God Nev Campbell doesn't just stand there. So to get that fight and to get the actual shooting of the face off, the reaction in the crowd, I mean, everyone was just laughing and applauding. It was a great moment.
Yeah. Past my prime. Fuck you. Like that. I'm glad that Sydney got another iconic line. I mean, she's always had a big moment, right? After when the killer's going down. And I love that her moment here was something that is definitely going to be memed from here to the end of the world and back. So what is your favorite scene in the movie?
I have to say it was the chase scene with Tatum around the town because
Oh.
I love a good chase scene, and I thought the score in the moment when she's in the middle of the street and the camera goes up was it gave me chills. It was just so incredible, and I just thought the score throughout that entire scene and what he brought back to the franchise was incredible, and her hitting him with the sign and then going with the code and the door. There was just so many moments I was surprised and shocked. Another acting moment from Isabel that I loved was when her boyfriend gets stabbed and dies. There's a moment where she's looking at him and do I stand here or do I keep going? And she kind of grits her teeth and she like makes this like noise and she just keeps running. I just thought that was such a great moment for her.
There are so many great Isabel moments in Scream 7. I was thinking about the scene when she's in Sydney's office with the gun. There's so much vulnerability there. Like, she goes to places that I wasn't expecting her to go in terms of being so I don't want to say weak because that sounds like it's a negative thing, but just in terms of being a young person out in the world who's never experienced something so grave, so traumatic, and she really conveyed like that aspect, the novelty of this traumatic situation in a really emotional kind of a way, not in a girl boss. Ooh, I'm going to magically be a superhero. We saw Tatum be really vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think there was, on a couple of my screenings, there were some groans when, she's like, I can't do this, I can't shoot the gun, or when she put the gun down and moved it away. But I mean, when you're thinking of a 17-year-old in that situation, it's like you're not going to think of the right moves. And also, if you've never shot a gun, I mean, it's
I've
gonna have
never
that
held a
moment.
gun before.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's scary. So anything else you want to share about Scream 7?
I think I'm also gonna see it for 7th time. A couple of my friends just started the Scream franchise, so they're finally caught up and we're gonna see it together. And yeah, I'm hoping for a Scream 8. I wouldn't mind kind of a story of the Carpenters versus the Evans maybe later on. I think that would be kind of fun, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. But just continuing the story, and I would love a movie focused on Gail and the twins and maybe Tatum, like a foreign vacation. I don't know. So yeah, I had a really good time.
Awesome. Well, Ian, thank you so much for joining the Patreon and sharing your thoughts on Scream 7. I'm excited to hear more about your philosophy on Scream the next time we get to chat.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, let's go over now to New Zealand to my friend Ben. Hey, Ben.
Hi, Ryan. How's it going?
I'm well. How about you?
Yes, it's nice and early in the morning for me. I thought I'd choose an early morning one. It's about nearly 6 o'clock in the morning, so I woke up super
My,
early for this one.
my hero. Thank you for waking up early for Scream 7 and the recording. That's very nice.
Well, I also wanted to meet all the people who I don't get to see on the other Zoom call that you do. So, hello, everyone.
So, because this is new. Usually, I used to do just one. I did one Zoom call a month for the past 3 or 4 years, and so this is new where I'm doing two of them. So it's fun to see who's showing up to which, and this is a nice like perk to get me through the rest of the workday. But Ben, tell me about Scream 7.
Yeah, so my experience of it was that as I put in my review was it felt like it's so cliche to say that it's a roller coaster ride because that's what a lot of people say about a lot of different films, but it felt like one of those theme park rides that was like a themed Scream ride. So it felt very much on the tracks, but it hit all of those like exciting moments. And I think that kind of came from that sense pace that you got from the moment there was the home invasion. There's very little downtime. There's obviously the interview and there's a bit of tension building. And then, when you go into the bar scene, it builds up to the bar attack and then the Tatum chase. And then the Tatum chase leads directly into the finale. There's a sense of pace which just moves so fast. So, it felt like it was hitting all the points of fan service that you would want. Meanwhile, it also just sort of stayed on the tracks for me, which is for better or worse. I think I felt the battle between the Busick script and the Kevin Williamson's edition. I wonder if maybe there was a thought in terms of, because in Hollywood there is actually a thing of like if you've written the original script and then it gets changed by X amount, it changes the kind of credit that you get. And so I do wonder if Kevin was sort of like, oh well, I'm not going to just steam in and rewrite the whole thing. And so yeah, there were scenes that were lacking for me, but then there was a lot of points that just hit really hard. And obviously the Sydney story was the core element that was just fantastic. And I thought it was great to see a final girl evolve essentially.
Right. I think this is a whole other side of Sydney in this. I was telling someone else this morning that this is like this version of Sydney. She's not afraid for herself. She's been made afraid because of Tatum. Every time that we see Sydney in peril or emotional distress is not because of Sydney, it's because of her daughter. And that's what makes Scream 7 unique compared to the other films. And it keeps Sydney's character development in line from, Scream 3 opening the gate to kind of like the heroic plateau calmness that she has in 4. And then in 5, she comes in just as kind of like the apathetic, almost badass. And I feel like, we kind of see that Sydney in Scream 5 again here at the end after Tatum is untied from the chair and, Sydney is in the garage trying to find Jessica. We see her be that person again now that Tatum is safe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were some core Sydney points there were some elements I was actually thinking weren't going to be in this film, and then they did actually do it. And one of them was Sydney running into the theater and then just immediately going motherfucker and then just shooting the gun. And, the final fight sequence, her relationship with her daughter had some depth to it. There were some surprising elements that I enjoyed, but obviously nothing was more surprising to me than Gail's entrance. It was just top. I was in Australia. I was in a very quiet cinema. Well, I would like to stay quiet. There were a few people talking more than I wanted to, but I put my put my hand up and was like, yeah, I was quite excited by that moment.
Awesome. Well, so what did you think of Gail overall?
Gail had more depth. Gail definitely had more going for her than what they did in 5 and 6, which was fantastic. I think in the same way that they've gone down the road of evolving the final girl with Sydney, I really want to see a more Gale-focused script, and I think there's a pathway towards something like that. But what they did with her here, I think really, yeah, it felt like the attack scene from 6 and then the Gale as a character we got in 7. If you put those two together, you have like a really good Gale experience. And so, yeah, I think they really sort of filled in the gaps that were missing from previous films.
Awesome. Well, so what is your new ranking now that we have Scream 7?
Oh, well, Ryan, there's actually a little surprise in there for you. Because obviously Scream 7 was coming out and I was doing a watch of all of them. My 3 has actually moved up in my ranking a bit more, so that might be thanks to you. I might be seeing the qualities of it that I didn't see before. So 2 is always going to be my number 1. I love 2. It's a perfect film for me. I think it's fantastic. It's the one I always return to. And 2 doesn't exist without 1, so 1 has to come afterwards. So 2, 1. And then I think it actually goes 3 now, which is a lot higher than I've ever had it before. Then 7, and then 4, 5, and 6.
Nice. I love it. My jaw almost hit the floor with the 3 mentioned because I think you shared with me your ranking before 7 came out. So very, very cool. So, and Ben, we're going to be doing an episode kind of talking about the meta aspects of the Scream franchise, you and me, in a couple of weeks. So is there anything you want to share about like the meta quality of Scream 7 as you see it?
You've got me on the spot now. I wasn't thinking I was going to be talking about that, but I mean, the meta element, I think, it's a tricky thing because as soon as you start coming back to let's talk about the meta, you're trying to pull from tropes of types of films which are maybe too recent to even consider them tropes. The Lego sequel is still a relatively recent concept. And then by the time they got to 6, they were talking about the tropes of a franchise. And I was like, all right, so really, ultimately, the effect of analyzing the meta element is not really helping the characters anymore. So therefore, I would appreciate that scene, especially in the way that the Busiek script seems to do it, which is just gather all the suspects in a room and just talk about, the rules. I would like to see that either be completely ditched or really think about what kind of effect it's actually having on the film. Because as of 6 onwards, it very much has no impact. It doesn't lead them to figure out who's the next victim. It doesn't lead them to figure out who the killer might be. It doesn't really lead them to figure out anything that's going to help them. It's pretty much just in there as like a thing to do. That bar scene actually is one of the things which I find the most irritating because it is that box ticking kind of scene. And as much as we get that amazing kill on the bar tap, and I did really enjoy the kills in this film, that scene I pitched that actually we could have given Mark Evans a little bit more to do. It would have been more organic to the story if the suspects were gathered by the police and it's being led by Mark Evans, who's questioning the characters. You have Mindy popping off because she wants to be the new Gale, and so she's, getting in the way of the investigation just in the way that Gale used to do in the previous films. And you can even like shut down the meta element by a police officer saying like, look, we're trying to do like real police work here. We're not going to go based on old film tropes. And I think that would have brought like an organic way of gathering the suspects together, still kind of keeping that the potential for commentary, but giving Mark something more to do. And I personally think that a creepy, like if you imagine like a much smaller police station with a like overnight crew staffing, and then there's like a ghost space attack in the police station, would have been like a really interesting set piece that felt a bit more organic and less forced. So yeah, so when it comes down to meta, it's one of these things where it has to be organic to the story for me, and I don't mind if you step away from it in order to just create a good character story.
Cool. Well, I respect that. I will say, in terms of the who's, are you the killer? Or are you the killer? The what Busick has done in recent films, I actually like kind of the spin here, where the two big moments I can think of in my mind are like in the auditorium where they're sitting with their parents and they're all kind of conversing. It's actually a very cute way to bring Jessica in and remind everybody that she's a suspect in a way. I liked that. That to me felt more natural in real world, than how we've seen it in the previous two films. But also the scene I loved, oh my gosh, is when Sydney walks past the ambulance and then she looks into the crowd of people who are watching the street and we see the teacher and we see Ben. Like to me, that almost gave me, this is a really like obscene comparison, but if you've seen the movie Oppenheimer, whenever Oppenheimer goes out and he's looking out into the crowd and he's seeing like I won't get into it, but he's seeing these horrific sights. That almost gave me that kind of a vibe, but it also just like it's an interesting way to express and communicate like, ooh, here are our suspects without Mindy saying, well, Amber, I think you're the killer, because you're in the basement. So it's just an interesting way to show as opposed to tell. But we can obviously dive deeper into the meta when we sit down and speak in a couple of weeks. So, but Ben, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
Yeah, so I'm on Hot Text Film Club on Instagram, and yeah, I cross post onto my own personals as well. But yeah, feel free to follow me, and I've got a big deep dive meta post into Scream that I posted last week, and I've got another one coming up, which is kind of my pitch for if you are going to keep meta as an element of Scream, then how would a Scream 8 or a future movie look? Which is quite excited by. It's a Gale focused one, so that's going to be good to talk about.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. So a couple weeks ago, before Scream 7 came out, I did an episode about Mr. Kevin Williamson and his long career with my next Patreon here. It turned out really nice. Kevin Williamson even gave it a little like on Instagram, which is fun. So but anyways, without further ado, please welcome Wani. Hey Wani.
Hey, how are you?
What did you think of Scream 7?
So the first time I came out of the theater, I didn't love it. I was like, I'm not sure if I really like it. But then the second time, I really, really liked it. I can't say that I loved it, but I really loved parts of it. Especially, I like the emotional parts of the movie. I remember many times on your episodes, you said that the thing that you like the most about the Scream movies is when you have two people having a conversation, and this is something that I really like from this movie. Like that's the part that I enjoy the most. And it's a matter of what you like and your taste. I know that many people go to the movies, to horror movies, expecting like the thrill, like the death and shocking part. So for me, the thing that I enjoy the most from the Scream franchise is the characters, the emotional part, and I got that, and I'm really happy about that. And I could tell that that was Kane Williamson, and I got confirmation on the interview that it was him doing those type of conversation when Sydney's talking to Mark, when she's talking to Gail, to Tatum. So that's what I really enjoy the most. And what I really like, and I really love, actually, the more that I think about it, it's the motive of the killer, which I sent you a voice message regarding that. Because I think I was confused the first time, but by second viewing, I was like, okay, yes, this makes sense. And I like when Scream movies can put a mirror in front of you. I think that also happens in Scream 4 and Scream 5. And so what I sent to you, so you will know, is that I compare the motive from Jessica to people's obsession with female pop stars. They want their pop star to be this certain way and don't change. I put an example like Britney Spears. When she stepped out of music, people are wanting her back, and it's like, that girl alone, like she will come back when she wants to. And that was kind of, I know it's a weird comparison, but that's how I see it. And that's the way it makes sense to me for the movie. And also what I like is that I, I'm not opposed of to having Scream going to other characters, like having a girl story or Tatum or the twins or even Kirby. But what I really like about this movie is like they're showing us Sydney with her happy ending, and it's not like Scream 6 that they tell us that she has a happy ending. I just want to see it. So now I know how she is right now. I can move on and focus on some other characters.
No, that's a really great comparison. I remember, I mean, like as soon as you said the pop star, I'm like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But no, so but that's a really, really cool analysis, and I'm glad that you have grown to appreciate what Scream 7 is saying with the killer because I know that people are still kind of mixed on it. I know it's the most controversial part of the film, but I truly believe because I've seen the finale now. I mean, I've seen the movie 5 times in theaters, and I've seen it also many times when I was doing the screen times, and I've seen the finale quite a bit. Like literally, when I did the screen times for the characters, I did it for. So I had to watch the finale for Sydney, for Jessica, for Marco, for Tatum, and for Mark. Like I watched the finale basically 5 times in a row. And man, every single line that Jessica says is there for a purpose and it helps create this portrait of her. I think that everything is there. It's just going to take people, time, whether it's weeks, months, or even years to go back and really understand Jessica. I think she really is an awesome killer with a really interesting reason for what she's doing. So I'm really pleased with your comparison to the pop stars.
Good. And I love that it's a controversial movie and a controversial motive. I prefer that just that was the motive. Like I like this is what I like about movies in general. I love movies that make you think, and it's just not just 2 hours of your life. I mean, I like that about art, like that gives you something to think about and reflect on your life and the society. And I think that's something that most of the Scream movies does really well.
Yeah. Well, so, we did the episode about Kevin, and I have to just kind of ask as a follow-up, how do you think Scream 7 holds up and in terms of his filmography and his legacy? What does it say about his legacy?
Well, I think it shows that he can direct very well, and he can, if he wants to, he can do more and more. I love his artistic decisions, the reference to other movies. You can tell that he really loved filmmaking, and that's something that he's been showing through his whole career in Dawson's Creek and all the scripts of the first 2 Screams. Even in Vampire Diaries, I started watching Vampire Diaries, and the first couple episodes, you can see Kane Williamson on the script. So I love that about him, and I love that he didn't. I think he's around 60 years old or something, and I'm so happy that at this stage, after 40 years of making art, still loves movie, and you can see that on this movie. And another thing that I like that he's so honest on his interviews. So I watched the interview that everybody's talking about he not directing Scream 8. But I prefer him being upfront about it instead of radio silence. Remember when they were doing the Scream 6 press, they were like giving the scripted answer about not coming back or maybe. So I prefer having all the information now and maybe be surprised later. But
Exactly.
if this is the only movie that we get from him, really happy. Him and in the Scream franchise.
Awesome. Well, before we go over to the next guest here, what did you think of Sydney and Gail?
So I love the relationship. I mean, one of my favorite scenes from the movie is after they have the interview
Mhm.
and that whole conversation. It's so short, but very like enough to get a feeling of how they feel about each other and how they are on that moment in time. Like you don't have to do a lot, and I think I have to praise their performance. Like sometimes it's not only the script; it's also what the actor gives to you, and I think that they did wonderful with what they have. And it just, like you always say, show not tell. So that's my favorite scene. I love the end when Sydney tells to Gail that she actually can trust her. Yeah, so I love.
Wani, what is your new ranking?
So it's not solid because I need to rewatch some of them. But I'm in a moment with the Scream franchise where I started to love all of them, even 6. Because last week I saw 6 with my best friend, and I was like, okay, so this is fun. I mean, it's not my favorite, but so I love the franchise. So my ranking, I need to rewatch some of them, but it's 2, 3, 1, 5, 7, 4, 6. So 5 and 7 are neck and neck. I need to rewatch 5. The thing with Five is that I remember the feeling getting out of the theater for the first time that I was really, really happy. I have an instant reactions, and that didn't happen with 6 and 7. I was like, like Scooby Doo. So I need to rewatch them, but probably like with time, I think 7 is gonna fly.
Cool. Cool. Well, Wani, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts.
Of course, love this.
All right. I'm going to head over now to my friend Hoodie. Hey, Hoodie.
Hey Ryan, what's up?
I'm just sitting here with some awesome people talking about Scream. I would love to hear what your thoughts are.
So my first viewing, I was like, I think I had my expectations way too high, which
I'm sorry
that's
for
all.
that if I made them too high.
No, it's not your fault. I put them that high, which I knew I was gonna upset myself. But it was crazy because the second viewing, because I think I've watched it 6 times now, and my second viewing and on, like the theater experience was so much better. Like everybody clapped when Gail came out. All the scenes, whenever like stuff would happen, people got loud and stuff. My first viewing, it was quiet in there, so I guess that had something to do with it too. But the funniest experience we had was when she defeats one of the Ghostface, and you think she's okay, and then the other one comes in. People were yelling, "Run!" Like they were just yelling. It was just. I think this you have to watch this movie more than once.
That moment is one of my favorite moments in the movie too. We've never seen that done in a Scream movie. Even like I guess there was the chat aspect of having two ghost faces in the same shot, but the way that it's done in terms of like we think one's defeated and the other shows up, and then they both run at the person,
Hmm.
and then it cuts to black. That is terrifying. Like every single time I've seen that, it's like chills, and then it's followed up by that masterful scene by Sydney and Nev doing a mini version of the police station in Scream 3 call, right?
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts?
I loved it. I loved it. Like I don't know. That first viewing, I kind of upset myself for being that down on it. 'Cause I think I texted you right after, and I had it like right before 5 and 6 or something. Or
I think you
I
had
think
it's
5 in front of 7. Yeah.
6th. Yeah, 6th place just over Scream 6. I was like, "Oh no, this isn't good."
But I went that Friday, and it totally changed. Like, I thought the opening was way better than I expected it to be,
Oh yeah?
and I felt like because people were like, "It doesn't connect to the movie." I was like, "Technically, we had a legacy character die in the opening because the house is gone."
Interesting. But doesn't it make sense in a movie that's about Stu possibly being alive for his house to be burned? And like,
Mhm.
it's almost like, even like whenever they're walking through the house and we see the TV on the ground and they're talking about Stu, and like what the characters are disclosing about is he alive, isn't he? Like that's kind of setting up the argument, the foundation
Yep.
for the theme of what of seeing him as the AI version of the character.
And I think Anna Camp was so good in this movie. I mean, I knew the minute she got cast, I knew she was a killer, and I was so glad when it was true. And she was such amazing. Like she played the neighbor mom role, and then went straight to Psycho the minute the mask came off, and it was just perfect. I wish we'd have got a little more of her, but you can't ask for that much.
Well, Huddy, you're a dad, and it's just so funny how motherhood and parenthood is defined so much in Scream 7, not only through Sydney, but also through Anna Camp. She
Hmm.
kills her own child. What are your thoughts?
See, that tripped me out because I had a feeling, and I had asked you, so I knew she was a killer. So whenever her son dies, I was like, "Well, is she not the killer?" And then that's
Yeah,
when it reveals that what's his name, the one he was chasing Tatum and he got shot, so we knew it wasn't him. I was like,
yeah.
"Damn, she killed her own kid. She is psycho."
Well, so did you like her motive as well?
Yeah, because it made sense. My wife pointed this out, and she was like, they kind of made fun of both sides of the fandom. Like Jessica's motive is kind of like how we felt when Sydney didn't come back. We're like, it's not the same without you and stuff like that. And so, like in the sense, they made fun of like us with Jessica's motive. Like you had to have Sydney there. Sydney there is like we're obsessed with her in a sense, not the way she is, but it kind of made sense. And then like the other aspect is they're making fun like the whole Gail thing with I wasn't fired, or my contract wasn't renewed. So it's
Yeah.
like they make fun of the fandom both sides.
Well, I think that Jessica, everyone is kind of saying like that she is supposed to be the Sydney fan, right? Like the upset that she wasn't in Scream 6. I think that that's an interpretation, but like I can also see it as Jessica being the Melissa Barrera fan who's upset that Melissa isn't in and Sam isn't in Scream 7. So you can
It
read
could
it
go,
both ways.
yeah.
So, did you like Tatum?
Oh, I love Tatum. Like the first viewing, I liked her, but like the more I've watched her, like I think like the third one, I like watched just her like a lot. I was like, dude, she's so good in this. I don't know, like just the lines she gave, like especially the line she's like, not everybody is Billy Loomis. Like the way she delivers it, I was like, dude, I love her so much.
Well, that's awesome because so we're going to be doing an episode about Tatum here in a couple of weeks, which is very fun. So, oh, cool. Anything you want to share about Sydney and Gail?
I loved it. It's because they still had that like iffy, like if they're not like we always get with them, like they're not for sure if they're like best friends or not. So we still kind of got that. And then I just liked how you could tell Sydney was concerned for Gail whenever the little shots we got to see with the way Gail was holding her shoulder and stuff. And I actually liked it. I kind of glad Gail wasn't that much into the finale because I feel like there'd have been too much going on. But I do hope if there is an 8 that we get a lot more of Gail.
Right. No, I agree. So, and we do know that Courtney Cox, in fact, has the third most screen time of anyone in the cast after Nev Campbell and Isabel May. So she's kind of back to her Wes Craven era where, she was number 2 or 3 in all of Wes's films. So I love that Courtney was restored in that sense, so it's very
Yeah.
cool.
And then like I can't stand if people are like talking about the motive, how like it makes no sense, it's dumb. I was like, and when they were talking about the killer reveal in general, I was like, dude, there's no way that you look at 6, you look at the actual Ghostface persona when he's running around and stuff, and then when we get the reveal when the mask come off, there's no way you could look at them like, okay, I can believe they're underneath that mask. Now, if you look at the Ghostface, which we're under assumption that is Jessica, when she takes the mask, I'm like, okay, I can believe that was her. Like she's crazy enough to be under that mask. And I
Right.
was like, there's just no way you can compare 6 and 7 when it comes to the killers.
Even the originality, about the
Yeah.
killers and their motives, like what Jessica is, and why she's doing it and like who she is as a person is so well defined and so interesting and so original compared to, you know, doing Scream 2 all over again, with Scream 6.
Yeah, that's what I tell my wife all the time. I was like, Scream 6 is a worse version of Scream 2. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
Well, Hoodie, any final thoughts you want to share for your initial review here?
I thought the twins were amazing, even though I feel like they didn't have that much screen time, but I think they gave me main character energy without being side characters. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
that just they felt like they fit.
They felt like they were part of the family with Sydney and
Yeah.
Gail. So.
And I think my favorite scene was, I think the whole house scene with the family. Like you can just tell like they're like like they might not have prepared Tatum for everything, but like you can just tell they were in sync with everything. And I like that.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. Well, Hoodie, please tell everybody where they can find you and your podcast.
You can find me on X, Instagram at Hoodie Season and the podcast at Hoodie Talks Pod.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to head over now to the person in the Patreon. So there were 2 people who stick out in my mind as having seen it the first. So there was my friend Andy, who did the Wicked episodes with me the last couple of years. He saw it in Australia, and I got his thoughts briefly before he went to bed. But then the second guy is David, and we talked for like an hour. I remember the conversation so vividly because you were the first person in the Patreon I was talking to about Scream 7. You had seen it, I hadn't. It was the Wednesday before. So everyone, please welcome David. Hey, David.
Hello, Ryan.
Let's go down in history as the first Patreon to have seen Scream 7. How cool is that?
That is wild.
And so you were one of the first people to kind of shape my impressions of the movie and like how people were receiving the movie. And it's interesting because you saw it before the critics reviews came out. So you and I think Sarah you all had similar consistent opinions through like over, the 3 of you. You were saying the same things, felt the same way. And then the reviews came out and it was like lopsided from that. And I was just like, I trust my friends more than I trust the critics. But yeah.
Good. Because we're the correct ones, they're not.
Well, so David, I know that you weren't so hot on Screams 5 and 6. So please tell everybody what your thoughts are on Scream 7.
Yes, that is true. Not very hot on 5 and 6. I loved 7. As soon as it started, I was like, okay, I'm in. I do feel like they showed too much of the opening in the initial trailer, so that was a little bit disappointing. But overall, that opening scene is so impactful and way better than 5 and 6. If we're just talking pure openings, it felt like a Wes opening, and it felt like one of the best openings we've had since 2, to be honest. I think it is the best opening since 2, and it was like we had that like nerdy side from Scott, but then we had his girlfriend. I thought they both did a fantastic job. And then burning the house down was really fun. Yeah, and I loved how they went around the whole house. It was amazing. It was incredible. And then my favorite moment is probably everyone's favorite moment, but when Gail comes in for the first time, I cheered. I cheered. I have cheered all 4 times I've watched it now. I have cheered at that moment because it's like, I think it's the best moment in the movie for me personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with you. I mean, like we've talked about it, everyone has everyone can tell you how their audience reacted to Gail Weathers hitting Ghostface with the car.
Definitely. In my first screening, because it was in the middle of the day, it was a little bit muted. But when I saw it for the second time with a massive full crowd, on the Friday, everyone was cheering, everyone was laughing, everyone was like, "Yeah, go Gale!" So, and obviously we just had that amazing scene in the house, which again, loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was everything that I wanted from a Scream movie that we haven't got from the last two movies, at least. So yeah, but and then with how Chad and Mindy were introduced, I thought was perfect as well. I think Kevin wrote them very well, and then them in the bar scene was probably one of my favorite scenes because especially when Chad told Mindy to shush, that was really funny.
And she didn't stop though.
No. And then when she went into, oh, maybe it is just Billy Loomis anyway, Stu even rather. I love that because it just felt very her, but also she was just written as a much better character than in, especially in six, because she was not written well in six.
Yeah.
Felt very forced.
No, I agree. So I have to ask David, what did you think of all of the shade that was thrown kind of at Screams 5 and 6 and kind of everything behind the scenes and within the fandoms, like, calling Gail Weathers, and you called it an irrelevant hag to help.
That was all of that was absolutely glorious. And as someone that hates six, I was living my best life.
Yeah. I don't want to say that I hate Scream 6, but I definitely tapped into that same energy of just living my best life listening to these lines that were shocking. And it's interesting. It's not just one or two moments. There are at least probably 10 references to the drama of Scream 6 and the surrounding events. It kind of takes your breath away as you uncover more and more,
Yeah, totally. Every time it would happen, I'd be like, yeah, yeah. It's like I could have written that. Just it was giving me a lot of life.
Exactly. Well, what did you think of Sydney and Tatum?
I loved what they did with the characters of Sydney and Tatum, especially the jacket scene when Tatum puts on the jacket for the first time and Sydney has a look, and I'm like, oh, love that. I mean, I know that clip came out before the movie, so I'd seen that part of that scene already, but seeing it in the full context was amazing. I thought Nev and Isabel did a fantastic job, and it felt like we're just revisiting these characters, even though we're just seeing Tatum for the first time. Obviously, it's properly seeing Sydney as a mother again, like properly instead of what we got in five. I thought the whole family was fantastic. And what I will say about Mark, I always knew that Joel would do a great job. And watching everyone else come around since this film has been out, I feel vindicated.
You deserve the vindication, and you deserve the vindication about kind of going back to Sydney, because you're also within the Patreon group. For listeners who aren't part of the Patreon, David is very much I don't want to say Sydney or bust, but this universe, this storyline, this timeline, or bust. In terms of Sydney being the focus, and that's the one thing that I've just taken away from Seven. There's such a sense of calm within me as a Scream fan, and just as me as a film viewer, just watching a Sydney story. It just feels so natural and so there's no friction, there's no challenge. It's just so effortless.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say I was like Sydney or bust, but I'm probably the most close to that kind of, and because I feel like that's just Scream. I feel like I'm more led at the OG like Sydney and Gale or bust, I would say. Like if neither of them were in a film, then that's different. But I again loved that they focus on Sydney again. It was kind of what I was missing in 5 and 6, which I've been very vocal about. But yeah, I thought everyone was really good. What my favorite death scene is Hannah's death scene in the theater. That to me was incredible. The bar scene, the way that they died. Even Jessica kills him, which is wild. But it felt like something out that I would have seen in a Final Destination movie, which, as I love Final Destination, I love that. But the whole bar scene was great. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, wish we'd got a party instead," and I 100% disagree. I loved it was a bar scene and not a party scene. We've had enough party scenes.
You're speaking my love language. I'm so over teenage party scenes. Enough. So I have to ask you about the finale. What are your thoughts on the killer Anna Camp? I think you said to me that you thought that upon initial viewing that it was a little weaker for you, but I feel like you've come around a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously better than 6 and 5, I would say as well. I don't think it's quite as strong as Emma Roberts' does in 4. Seeing because I saw it before the critic reviews, I was like, oh, this is really good. I enjoyed it for the most part. I feel a little bit underwhelmed, yes. But then I'm just like, we've got Anna Camp being crazy psychotic And again, we got that in 2. Again, I think it's acted better in 2, obviously. But like, I just loved how psychotic she was. And someone brought up, like, what is Jessica's motive? She's obsessed with Sydney.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it was a suicide mission. Like, she wasn't going to survive after that. So that's what I personally took from repeated viewings of that she was just mental, she was crazy, she was obsessed. And again, as soon as I've said this in the predictions, but as soon as Anna got a cast, she was going to be the lead killer. She just was. I think everyone knew that going in. Even though I knew that going in, it didn't ruin her. Her performance is fantastic. I think she did a fantastic job. Not to throw more shade at Six, better than Dermot was.
Yeah, I mean, the daylight between Dermot and Anna in terms of just their performances as actors is it couldn't be brighter, in my
I
opinion.
know, right?
So, well, David, do you have any final thoughts you want to share about Scream 7 and your new ranking?
Yes, I will just say I really liked the new characters. I really liked Hannah, but then because it's McKenna Grace, so I'm gonna love that. I actually really liked how Mindy and Chad were interwoven with the new characters and how that all happened. I know, some people have said it felt a little bit forced, but I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, there was some really, really good death scenes. Gail again was peak. I liked that they referenced like her attack in 6. The whole interview portion was probably also another one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is there anything else I want to say? It was just great. We don't really have much else to say about it. My ranking is 1, 3, 2, 4, 7, 5, 6.
Okay. Okay. Very, very nice. Oh, and I know you're a Dewey guy. He hasn't been mentioned yet. What did you think of all the little cameos?
I absolutely really loved the cameos. I knew about all the cameos apart from Billy's mother, Nancy. She was the only one I didn't know about. I knew about all the others. They'd already been announced. I really loved it. But then when it got to Dewey, I was just like, yeah, he should have been there properly. And I was still bitter about all that. But I thought David did give a really good performance. And one thing I haven't mentioned actually, Matthew Lillard,
Yeah.
incredible. All of his like scenes with Sydney on the video call, peak. Thank you, whoever came up with that idea. Thank you, it was incredible. Again, it was just like nice seeing him on screen again. He's one of my favorites, anyways. Favorite actors. Seeing him again was just peak.
And the acting, like his acting, I would probably say, no shade to Joel McHale and to Mason or Ethan Embry or whomever else, but I think he gave the best male performance in this movie. He was every time he got to come on as Stu and taunt Sydney and kind of be the Stu of 1996, but just older. I think it was so good. Like, there are so many lines. Like every single time I've seen Scream 7, I laugh at whenever he's talking about Tatum and he says, yeah, she broke curfew. She's a bad bitch. And then click, I think it's just things like that just are so funny that he does.
Yeah, especially when he taunts Gail. That was probably one of my favorite ones. And then she fights back. And just that whole, when Sydney and Gail are having that call with Stu, it was just so good. And it was just like, these people just know each other so well. And yeah, fantastic.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for coming and participating. And thank you for being the first guinea pig of the Patreon for me in terms of Scream 7 reactions.
I know. I remember dropping it in the chat at the time because obviously no one knew, and I was like, "What?" I was going to hold it until after I'd seen the movie, but I was just too excited, so I dropped it in the chat, and everyone was like, "What?"
Yeah, you did the right thing. So awesome. Well, David, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. So back whenever we got the first poster for Scream 7, I mean, the first cast poster, let's just say, so I met this guy who's next. His name's Christian. And we discussed all the potential of Scream 7 just from the poster and all the characters that we got to see. That was kind of like that episode, in my opinion, was kind of like the real beginning of like the proper Scream 7 era where the marketing was kind of really in full force. So now it's fun to be here 2 months later talking about the movie that we've just seen. So Christian, please take it away. Well, tell me, what did you think of Scream 7?
I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Was sadly spoiled before I went in, so I knew most of the reveals and such. But for those idiots who did that to me, it didn't ruin the movie really. I still loved it. I still thought it was fantastic. There were so many things I loved. I loved the opening. I thought the opening was amazing. And those two characters, even though they're not there for so long, you got the feeling that they were written more proper so that they could even though they don't have much to do, you still feel bad when they're off.
Well, so I just have to ask because I'm curious, based on how much you loved it. I want to know, where does it fall in your ranking?
You want to know my ranking already?
I need to know.
Okay, my ranking now is 2, 1, 4, 7, 3, 5, 6.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, so we did like the first like European Zoom, and we did like predictions, and you kind of threw out some ideas about like how they could switch up the formula of Scream. And like I remember something about about like this mental patient who kind of looked like Stu. The movie kind of gave us a little version of that, right? With Gail Weathers killing one of the ghost faces, at the end of Act 1. And then of course we go to the mental hospital and we find out that there was someone who was there. I mean, this is a lie from Marco, right? But that looked like Stu and that was friends with Carl. So what were you thinking whenever you kind of got to see your prediction almost play out in real time?
Yeah, yeah. When Marco said, "Oh, you mean John Doe?" I was like, "What?" I was taken a little bit by that. I thought it was amazing, and I thought Matthew Lillard, just to say that, as everyone has. He really acted this movie really well, and he was actually scary.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really scary in the original Scream because, well, he was psycho, but he wasn't really scary. He was a little bit, but here it was like, it's showtime, bitch, and yeah, she's a bad bitch. I'm gonna punish her. And and also the way he just every time he left the chat, he had a new way of looking at them.
No, I get what you're saying, and that he was really scary, and like in fact, my sister, who is a huge Scream fan, she's seen the first three with me like probably 800 times. She couldn't get over how effective Stu was. To see him, she was so surprised to see the scars on his face, and she was just so surprised that he was so scary. So I think that that's a really good take. Christian, tell me about your thoughts on Sydney and Gail.
From the moment they were on screen, Sydney and Gail also, I could feel that Kevin was back.
Yeah.
Not just directing, which he did awesomely, I might add. That was a really great movie in every sense. But it felt like, okay, these are the characters I know. These are the characters evolving, and you get new levels. And it's been said before, but I actually, on my first viewing, when Gail took those pills and, you could see that she was in real pain. And I actually had a tear in my eye at that moment. I actually cried a little bit because I felt so bad for her. And, that is the magic of Kevin Williamson.
I agree with you. Like with both of them, it's just like there was no transition. There was no build up to getting to who they were. It was just like as soon as we saw them, both of their introductions, like Sydney's banter with Tatum about Ben being behind the bed, right? From that moment where Sydney comes into the room and she's like, oh, I did knock. I just felt like, ooh, this is Sid. This is our girl. And like the walk down the steps, like it just felt like the Sydney Prescott we knew and loved. And I, just kind of want to echo what people have said about Nev's performance. It really is worth all of the hype. It is, I think, very internalized. It's a very controlled performance, but it's so thorough. There's a lot of detail in everything that she says and does, and she gets so much time to just be Sydney and kind of give us the perfect version of Sydney.
Yeah, and I really love Mark as well with her.
Yeah.
They had so good chemistry on screen. So I really like that they cast Joel McHale. I know that we all wanted Mark Kincaid, but now I don't anymore.
Yeah, I'm happy with Joel McHale and how everything shook out. But tell me about Courtney Cox. Do you feel like she was redeemed from Scream 6?
100%.
Yeah.
120%. She was redeemed. She was badass. Her entrance was amazing. When I saw it on the IMAX, everyone applauded and cheered. And I had a friend with me who said before the showing that he really wanted someone to unmask Killer midway. And so he was like, when that happened, he was like, I'm so happy right now.
So, Christian, I have to ask though, in terms of the finale, what are your thoughts about Anna Camp? We talked a lot about Anna Camp in the predictions episode as well, but did she deliver for you? Did you like her performance? Did you like the character, motive, etc.?
Maybe not as much on the first viewing because I felt that the reveal and everything that happened kind of was over very quickly. The first time I saw it, I felt a little underwhelmed, but then I saw it the next day And then I could start appreciating what she was actually going to do there. And she played it psycho, like real psycho, like, that she doesn't know what to speak, oh, where was I? New York, Pilates. Oh, right. She was really, really psycho and very, very intense. And I think she gave a great camp performance, which was on my bucket list. And I thought she was amazing. And I also liked the additions she did to the script. If that is what happened, I think that was a good call on her.
Definitely. And you can tell that she was living the character to know and to make those suggestions for sure. We talked a lot about Kevin Williamson in our episodes, Christian, that we've done so far. I remember you saying something to the effect of like, he's had a very up and down relationship with the franchise, in terms of like, on a high from being involved and then it being taken away or being stripped away from him or, having to sell the rights. And then, this happens and that happens. He hasn't had a smooth ride. So in terms of Scream 7, and what Kevin is able to do as a filmmaker. What were your thoughts on his delivery and how he directed and wrote this movie?
I really hope that he knows that Wes would be so proud of him for this movie. Whatever happens next, because Hollywood is an awful place to be, and I'm sure that the bad press has gotten to him, and I'm a little sad actually to see him making these slow steps backwards to say that I'm okay with someone else taking over and it's not just my playground and so forth. And I think he's really large, and it just shows how a beautiful man he is that he is able to have this kind of stand on it. But yeah, I think that I really hope that they keep him on as at least to be more hands on with the story. And also maybe that he can be a co writer, something that makes it possible for him to do all these projects, which are great. He has great projects. He has a movie. He has a movie he wants to be made. So I understand that he's busy, but I'm a little sad that the Kevin we saw before the opening and the Kevin we now see, you could see that that this has got to him a little bit.
I know, and it is sad, but I think, I think that everything will shake out the way it's supposed to. And I know that he said what he said, and he has less of a pep in his step. But you never know how things will
Yeah.
go. And I don't think that he was so specific in everything that he said. I know some people are taking him like taking what he said as a very definitive statement. I don't see it that way. So I think that he was just doing the ebb and flow of press for the movie and just being very generous and not being selfish like me and in the way that he answered some of those questions. So
No,
we'll see how everything shakes out. I think that this isn't the loss of Kevin. So
I'm really sure of that. I just some things I had with the movie that I really would have liked one of the kids apart from Tatum to survive. I think it's a little sad that we were introduced to a slew of new characters and they all were killed. Of course, in the last movie, all of them survived. So maybe they were thinking, oh no, we're not going to do that again. But I really would have loved for Chloe to survive, to be honest. I really liked her. She did so much with so little. Like, the way she said, here is the pepperoni pizza. Stuff like that was like, okay, they're alive. They're alive and I like them. I liked each and every one of them.
yeah. Well, I see what you're saying. I don't mind them going because Chloe would have been an excellent choice to keep alive because then she could go on and be friends with Tatum in college or whatever, or down in future films. But there's something cool about Tatum being the sole survivor in a way that Sydney never was. Sydney always had Randy or Galen Dewey or someone there with her, but not this time. And even Cotton, she survived with Cotton from Scream 2. But Tatum really is the only person from her friend group. That's a heavy weight to carry on your shoulders. And I think that it will serve her as a character really well in the next film.
I really, really loved Isabel May as Tatum, and she was so different from what I had pictured
Yeah.
when I saw the movie. I was not prepared for her to be so that she had a low opinion of herself and that she was shy and that I'm so glad that they didn't write her to be some kind of Rey from Star Wars, that suddenly she knows everything and she can be badass. They showed it like it's actually real. So
Mhm.
that made everything more scary for me as well because I really felt for her. And I knew she was going to survive, but they played it really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that she was very I don't she was very vulnerable, compared to what we just kinda saw with, the Carpenter sisters, and much like Linda Hamilton in ways like they showed Tatum as really, really vulnerable, which I thought was an excellent choice for this
Excellent.
scenario. Well, Christian, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts, and I'm glad that Scream 7 delivered for you.
Thank you for being here. And also thank you, especially to David, because David was my head shrink for a little while before I saw it because he had already seen it. So we were DMing, chatting back and forth. I think I actually sat there DMing him during the credits.
Love it. I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, Christian, thank you so much. All right, let's go now to the last member of the Patreon here for this episode, my friend Phil from the Horror Project podcast. Hey, Phil.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're good. So I'm happy to be bringing up the rear with you. So, what did you think of Scream 7?
I had a lot of fun with it. I think I tried to go in with sort of low expectations, having been stung with 6. And yeah, I'm still undecided on it. I still have mixed feelings on 7 as a whole, but I enjoyed it.
Well, cool. So, just to give everyone a perspective, where is it falling in your ranking as of right now?
The ranking, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 4, 3, 7, 5, and 6.
See, this is you're not the first person to kind of like put 3 over 7 in that kind of order. The Scream 3 person to me takes the win. So no, I'm glad that you like Scream 7, that you're kind of like lumping it
Yeah.
in with like the West films. Why don't you tell me more about what you liked and didn't like?
I just gotta say, like, the cinema experience was just so much fun. It was great to be in a Scream film that was packed and just like in the UK, in Britain, we don't really clap and cheer like you do in America, and it was just really cool to hear, like, when Gale emerges and everyone's screaming, "Yes, Gale, yeah, go Queen," and all this stuff. I'm looking around the cinema like, "What is going on? This is really cool." It was a really great experience.
Well, that's awesome. So, did you like Gail Weathers? In general, do you think that she was redeemed from Scream 6?
Yeah, it felt like a Gale reboot, a restart. It's sort of the best Gale we've had since Scream 4 for me. It was just the sassiness, that Gale antagonistic, F this, F that, like no nonsense version of Gale that, this is the Gale we want. And not having that in 6 was kind of painful. So just to see Courtney Cox deliver Gale again the way we want it, it was just, yeah, this is great.
What did you think of Sydney and her big return?
I think Sydney and Nev Campbell especially was like the best thing about Scream 7. It was just we've waited a long time to see Nev Campbell back doing what she does best. I think this is her film. I think she just smashed it. Her like relationship with Isabel May as Tatum was just the best thing about this film for me.
Well, cool. Well, so what did you think of Tatum overall as a new character?
So I'd done my research going into this. So 1883 was the Yellowstone spin-off that everyone was raving about. So me and my wife watched it, we binged it, and she was just the best thing by far about that TV show. So we went into Scream 7 thinking, okay, I know she's going to deliver. I feel safe that she's a great performer and she just delivered a great character, like a great new Scream character that I want to see again. So I think when you go to see a Scream film, a new one, you know a load of people are gonna get killed off, but you want a few characters to, like, be the new faves, and Isabel May delivered that, so it's just yeah, more Tatum, please. I'm happy that Sydney's daughter is the character that "Oh, I like her, thank God for that."
Well, so you've alluded to that, I get the sense that there's a lot of Scream 7 that you liked and that you enjoyed and you had fun with, but then there's some things you have reservations on. So feel free to share some of your reservations.
Yeah, just for me, the whodunit aspect is, like, one of the big Scream things for me, like, I'm a murder mystery guy, I like Poirot, I like trying to watch the film and who is it? Where are the clues? And it just felt a little lacking on that side for me. As soon as we all saw Anna Camp, "Yep, you're the killer." There was no sort of mystery to that. You could argue that, the other killers were sort of more mysterious, harder to predict, but at the end of the day, it's Anna Camp that was the lead killer, if you will, and, yeah, it's just you watch the film, and as soon as you see her, "Yep, there she is in a pink jumper. There she's she's the killer," and she was.
Did you like her as the killer?
I loved her, so I'm really torn on Anna Camp because I love her as a performer, as a person, a human being. Just you wanted more screen time with Jessica and just The reveal was good, and she was giving a great performance, and if the stories are true that she added a lot of that character to the last scene, it's a shame because I think they should have given her more to do throughout the film. And maybe there's so much attention put onto Sydney, which is great, and you want Sydney to be like have as much screen time as possible, but then it leaves other characters underbaked and less filled out. They're more sketched in. And I think Anna Camp suffered from not having as much screen time as everyone else.
Okay, okay. What was your favorite sequence in the film?
I love the opening. I think it's been the best opening we've had in ages, like years. I think the opening really surprised me because I think a lot of the other guests you've had tonight said the opening felt maybe a little bit spoiled because of the trailer. You did see a lot of the opening in there, but it was a lot better than I expected. It was really engaging. I thought the characters were really good. I mean, you know they're gonna die. You meet these 2 characters, they're gonna die, but she especially was great. I wanted her to stick around. It really she was a great character, and then she's gone. You know, you want more.
Well, in terms of the fire of the house, did that live up to the expectations having seen it over and over and over again in the market?
Burn it down, but yeah, they really hammered the burn it down thing. I guess the thing they were doing was trying to allude to the fact that Stu's back. He's burning his house down. He's back for revenge, and this is him making a statement. So I got that that was why they used the house, and I'm also kind of glad the house is done. We've seen the house a million times. Let's burn it down. Let's move on. So I think they used it for one last time in a really good way.
I think so too. I think that it's nice to kind of put that era of Scream to rest and move forward to new settings and everything. So, well, Phil, anything else you want to share about Scream 7 and your take on it?
Yeah, I just like the film. It is a little mixed, the response to it. Like, it's made all the money in the world. It's been so successful, which as a Scream fan, you want it to do well. You want it to make loads of money. It just, I feel like the criticism is too harsh. I think it is a really entertaining, engaging film. And I just, your previous guest mentioned that Williamson feels a little bit flat post film, which is a shame because I think he really delivered what he set out to do. I think it's a great film. It's just, I want him to come back, and I hope that he's not stung and hurt too much from this experience.
No, I agree. I agree. And the criticism is too harsh. And it's the right. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
the genuine criticism that could be about the reveal or that could be about too much fan service, which I don't even get. I don't even understand that. But like, but then there's the bad faith criticism and there's just the drama. I think that my main takeaway, and I hope that Kevin's main takeaway is the money. The money, I think, really speaks. Agree with what I said earlier to David. Whenever I heard from David and Andy and Sarah, they were like the first 3 patrons to see it. Their thoughts were so consistent and their opinion was so consistent. And then you have the critics over here doing their own thing. I'm more inclined to believe that my friends who are consistent, who know Scream really well and appreciate things about Scream, I'm more inclined to put weight on that than I am the critics who may have alternate motives or may not even like Scream to begin with. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. They're
Well,
definitely going to make a Scream 8 because, money talks and they've got lots of money. So it's going to come back.
Phil, please tell everybody about your podcast and where they can find it.
So it's the Horror Project podcast. Instagram's kind of the main place we hang out now. And the podcast, you can stream it everywhere and anywhere. Just look for the Horror Project podcast.
But you guys do kind of fun things like you review new movies, old movies, and you do like these interactive posts throughout the week, which I really enjoy on Instagram. So anything else you want to share about your show?
Yeah, Instagram's kind of the fun place. I think you love Instagram. It's the best social media place nowadays. We do like listeners' choice episodes once a month, and just we try and keep it fun.
Cool. Well, Phil, thank you so, so, so much. And thank you everybody for coming tonight and being patient. I know there was like a lot of people, and I think that everyone had some really cool thoughts. And it was so nice to see everybody post Scream 7. And I hope everyone continues to enjoy the post 7 glow. And I can't wait for all the fun stuff we're going to do with the podcast and the fun conversations we're going to have as we kind of start to, really absorb the movie in a different way. So, and cheers to Scream 8, hopefully. But we're going to cheers to Scream 7 and its success, but also, cheers to whatever comes next. So, all right, everybody. Thank you, and we will see you next time. All right, let's go to Sam. Well, you know what, Sam? I have been waiting for this for a while because of over the past 3 years when we've been anticipating this movie, you've gone on a journey with Scream 7 from like, do we really need it? No, I don't really want it. To this trailer looks good. I'm coming around. Well, look, here's the movie. So I'm curious and anxious to hear what you have to say. So, what did you think of Scream 7?
Yeah, it has been a journey with me. You're correct. You're probably your biggest skeptic. And then I got hyped. The trailer was great. So I will say I'm pleasantly surprised. It's not, I don't think it's a masterpiece by any stretch, but I did enjoy it. There were definitely parts, especially in the second half, when I was starting to, first off, great opening scene, probably the best since the first two. I think that it was really suspenseful, which was like something that we'd been missing. um, Not that some of the others, not that the rest of them weren't, but I think this one came the closest to the first two, and I think that that's probably due to Kevin Williams and like I think it's how much he's grown as a director. I think he used lighting intentionally. He created like a real sense of spatial awareness. And what I liked about the fact is that this was again one of those rare instances in the franchise where the movie gets to have its cake and eat it too, because you know that like going in there, we know that they're obviously playing with fire because we watch these movies and we know that going into the Schumacher house as an Airbnb is going to be like, oh my God, we know they're asking for it, but they don't. And it's funny because he's like your typical, like, straight jock boyfriend, always trying to scare his girl to like, as kind of like foreplay, because that's what straight dudes do sometimes. It's so weird. But at the same time, when he calls her, and I'm convinced that it's his boyfriend calling her on the microphone in the house, not actual Ghostface. When he calls her and he starts doing the whole Ghostface, you're gonna die tonight thing, it's funny because we're on the edge of our seats knowing that something probably is about to happen soon. But at the same time, it also makes sense that she would just think it's her boyfriend because he's there with her. And even though she starts to get creeped out and think that it's really Ghostface, the funny thing about it is that it's actually just it's not. I personally think it's not him, and I think it's funny because they're putting themselves in a situation. It's kind of like the what was it, like the Mobius strip where it's just like the tail eating itself. Yeah, it could really be happening, but it's also clearly a joke. And then the big surprise is when they both get it. The jump scares were really good in that scene. There were several really good jump scares too. Like it was really, really well done. It was playing off our awareness of the situation while at the same time making their lack of awareness for once in one of these sequels, for once, sort of plausible. Because considering where most of the action takes place, why would they think they have anything to fear? So that being said, then we move on to Tatum in her bedroom. And at this point, it literally is just like a recreation of like the first Scream. And I thought that I did kind of cringe at that. I was just like, but at the same, I realized later that Kevin Williamson was trying to make a point about nostalgia. Eventually, I realized that, but I don't. This was one of those instances where I don't think that that was like handled really well in the moment, or at least not like handled sufficiently later on for me to be like, okay, this is just like it doesn't make up for the cringiness of the moment.
Sydney, what did you think of Sydney? Were you happy with Sydney?
Ecstatic, over the moon. I feel like this was like I feel like this is the Sydney that I grew up with, and not like the Xerox copy that I'd seen like the last few times I saw her. Like this was just. It really felt like this was the Sydney that I grew up with. And now, shockingly, she seems remarkably well adjusted for someone who's had 10 people try to kill her over the course of her life. So it is interesting that she isn't like more traumatized and
Right.
doesn't have deeper trust issues. I mean, she does, but they seem to be it's just like everyone else outside. Just like she somehow managed to find a man that she trusts and make a family with him. And I'm happy about that. And I also did tell you, because I'm a weirdo, I didn't want any more Ghostface killings. I just wanted to peek in on them and have like an hour and a half to 2 hour movie, like a WB show about her normal life. Like that would have made me happy. And I feel like for about 15 minutes we got that. And I was
Yeah.
really happy with that. I was really happy seeing her as a mom, seeing her like run a coffee store, which is cute. It's cute. I don't necessarily I knew it when she was a kid, she probably had bigger ambitions than that. But as you get older and have your responsibilities, eventually you settle for something that works. And a coffee place is a fun place a coffee place is fun. It's a fun place to hang out anyway. So I really did enjoy that. And I enjoyed seeing her as a mom. I enjoyed seeing her interactions with Tatum and her husband. Joel McHale was such a good sport. Yeah, I loved Sydney. I think that was I think that's this. I think the Sydney and the suspense and jump scares were probably the best parts of, or the most successful parts of the film for me.
All right. Well, I guess there's only one way to go from up, which is down. But like, what did you think of Gail Weathers?
Iconic entrance. Iconic entrance. Trying to sort out my feelings about her because it definitely felt like her to me again. In the much this in a way since it hasn't since the Wes Craven era. It felt emotionally watered down for me at certain points, and maybe that was just her trying to numb herself from her own pain, which as a dramatics I could maybe see that from a dramatic standpoint, but I didn't get the feeling that I felt that played to me as well. It's hard to say because you know how there are the things when you have to signal to and if you're trying to show it like that your character is affected in a certain way, you have to show that to the audience, but not necessarily show that to the other characters because that's the way they are. That's kind of how I feel about how they missed in this part. Now, also, I was also a little annoyed that she wasn't there for the climax. Not that that's like a problem per se, because she probably feels like she's too old for this shit and doesn't want to risk getting stabbed again. But at the same time, once Sydney realized that her daughter was in danger, it was like kind of bizarre to me that like Gail wasn't like, "Here, take my keys." So I don't know.
I think everything was happening so fast. So, Sam, overall, what is your new ranking or how does Scream 7 fit into the larger Scream picture for you?
Oh, jeez. I told you this. My ranking is like kind of in limbo right now. It's weird because this one's hard to say. Oh my god. Okay. I don't know if this is going to be definitive. I'm just going to say how I'm feeling right now. Am I moving this around at all? Jeez. Okay. Can't believe it.
Do you want me to come back to you?
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 3, 7, 4, 6.
Whoa, some crazy stuff right there.
Yeah, 3 just I bumped 3 up 2 notches.
Well, you have won my heart tonight. And seven's pretty high too, right? Wait, it was 1, 2, 7, right? Or did my Hey, you know what? I love it. I love seeing 3 and 7, at least in the middle. That's nice.
Yeah. Mostly I think where I started to lose it, where I started to grow impatient with the film, just to be honest and keep it a buck. Honestly, the kills started in the back half of the film started to be more overtly gruesome in a way that Wes Craven would have supplied like the emotional aspect to it where you would feel sympathy for them. But here they just felt like these that felt like Halloween kills or even worse, like Friday the 13th sequel kills. Like just like how can we like come up with these like disgustingly creative ways to like off people, but it became to the point where it's like in the Friday the 13th movies, like you are intentionally asked not to care because it's really just like it's the whole sort of the whole thing. And Scream at its best never did that. Scream is always like, no, these are real people. We want you to care about them. So when they die, it's sad. And this didn't do that. And then finally, I'm totally at a loss with the ending. I can't get there. I have only seen it once. I know everybody's tried to make claims for it. Everything just happened so fast. And I feel like it happened really quickly. And I'm gonna be honest, Anna Camp revealing that her character killed her own son did not land with me at all. Like, I just thought it happened so fast and was so strangely and poorly acted. I thought, like, this is ridiculous. But in any event, I genuinely enjoyed seeing the film, and I'm really, really glad that you got me into that you actually helped make this happen for me. So I give you credit for that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that Sydney delivered for you.
Oh, she absolutely did. And I think that was my favorite part of the film, easily.
So, well, Sam, thank you so much for your thoughts. Again, I'm predictable as always, so I love it. But let's go over now to my friend John. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am actually sitting in the parking lot at AMC right now. I'm about to go see it for the third time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've seen it twice. I saw it Thursday night, then we impromptu kind of went again Friday night the next night. So I saw it 2 nights in a row, and my initial reaction is, I loved it. I loved almost everything about it. There's a few things that I thought the opening, it's probably top for me. As far as opening goes, I would probably say it's 173. I know that's kind of weird. I love the opening for 3.
Hey,
Uh,
me too.
More so than the opening for 2. I have some issues with the opening for 2, but my openings would be 173, 2, 6, 5, 4. Is my opening ranking. So I thought the opening was great. I thought it was well acted. I thought the movie as a whole was really, really well acted. I didn't think there was any weak links really as far as the performances go. So I know a lot of people are having an issue with the opening because it's like they say it's fan service. I don't really get that. Like, since when is fan service a bad thing? Like, I don't like. I'm a fan of the movie. That's who you're making these movies for, is the fans. So whatever, as long as it doesn't get like too overly like cliche, and I don't think this did. So I didn't really have a problem with that. I loved Gail in this movie. Gail from start to finish. I mean, I wanted more of her, of course, but I always want more Gail. I mean, I could probably stand for a whole Gail centered movie, but I think that's why I like 3 so much. Is I'm just a huge fan of Gail and just Courtney Cox in general. But when she had her entrance, when she hits the Carl with the car, and she comes out of that car, and the entire audience erupts in applause, that'll be a moment. I mean, it literally brought me to tears in the theater. It'll be a moment I'll in the theater I'll never forget. So that was great. I mean, I think her line about "I wasn't fired, my contract wasn't renewed," that just slays me, just because the Melissa Ferrera stuff and all of that. I think that's hilarious. So I love that a lot. I'm like you. I really like Chad and Mindy in this movie. I was glad they survived, which shocked me because I was ready for one of them to die. So I think Sydney gives one of her best performances since 3. I still think 3 is probably number 1 for me for her,
Yeah.
but I think this is probably number 2. So I would think.
And I'm the same way. Like, I understand people are excited about 7, and if you really do think it's her best, please, like, chant it on, because it's a great performance. It's a dream come true, kind of like Sam was saying about Sydney. It's just like a return to form for her in the grandest way. For me, I still would put her at performance, Nev Campbell's acting work, and Sydney's storyline overall in Scream 3 just a little higher. I just don't think that is ever going to be beaten for me. But I think she's excellent here. I mean, I think she's flawless here. I think both Sydney and Gail are pretty faultless. So I'm glad that you enjoyed Gail as well.
Yeah, she was great. And Isabel May, this is the first thing other than she did a couple episodes of Young Sheldon. Other than that, I had not seen her in anything. And I was watching this movie, and I was like, I know her from somewhere. And we got out of the theater. My wife's like, that's so and so from Young Sheldon. I was like, yes. That. Other than that, I had never seen her in anything, and I thought she was incredible. So I think if I don't know what their plan is, and probably, I guess, no one but they do. But if the plan is to pass the torch, I think we finally have someone worthy of that. So I would be fine with that. I mean, hopefully we don't push Sydney too far to the background, which I don't think will happen. But and I was so surprised by Joel McHale. Like, when they first announced that, I was like, really? I mean, I love Joel McHale, but I did not think he would do well in this movie. But he's always done like goofy stuff, Community and all of that. So I was really, really shocked by him. And as another one that I had pegged to die, and when he gets attacked that second time, I'm like, oh man, I really don't want him to die now. Like, he's really good. So I'm glad we got to see him survive, and we get to hopefully see him again. And I know there's been a lot of talk about like the teen cast, their character development is not really there. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we get enough of what we need from them. Like, I don't like you say, I don't need to know what they do. I don't need to know all this about their personal life. But I think it's well written enough for a slasher movie. I think it's well written, it's well acted enough to where I care about them. I want more from them, but not in a bad way. Like, I think what we have is really good, that it leaves me wanting more. And I think that's a good thing. And I don't think, honestly, since Jennifer Jolie in Scream 3 has a character that died in the movie, that I really wanted like more from them. Like 4, 5, 6, all the characters that die in that movie, like, and those 3, I don't really care. Like, sorry, Nora, whatever. But in this one, like Asa German, like, I would love if he weren't the killer. I found myself about 3/4 of the way through. It's like, oh, I hope he survives if he's not the killer, because I would love to see more from Asa German. I would love to see more um from McKenna Grace. I thought their roles were very, very well done. So I was so I don't think that, yes, I wanted more, but not because it wasn't, because what we had wasn't enough necessarily, just because it was well done enough that I would like to see more from them. And I like the way it kept me guessing, even though I was like pretty 100% sure it was going to be Anna Camp. I hadn't seen any spoilers, so I didn't know for sure. But I mean, there was a point in the movie, especially when there was a stretch of it where we hadn't seen her Anna Camp for a while, and then she kills Lucas, gets killed, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not Anna Camp. And there was a moment where honestly, and I know everybody will probably make fun of me for this, but I leaned over to my wife and I said, "Oh my God, it's Gail." And because when I kind of ruled everybody out, like there's nobody left, and then they have that shot of her popping the pills, and they kept harping on this. Oh, Sydney set out of 6, and it's a good thing you weren't. And I was like, oh, she's like had some kind of mental break from the 6th movie, and I was so glad they didn't do that because that would have devastated me because that would mean we would never see her again probably. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But there was a moment where I mean I really did think that, and so I was pleasantly surprised that even though I was pretty sure at least who the main killer was going to be, that it was able to keep me guessing. So that's all the stuff I liked about it.
Can I ask, what is your new ranking?
Yeah. Okay. So now I will say, before I say that, let me just say, before, the only thing that I really didn't care for is the reveal. And before the reveal, I really thought for a moment that this would jump 3 for me, and that this would be my favorite one. So, but right now it's going to be 3, 2, 7, 1, 4, 5, 6.
That's fair.
So yeah, but my main issue with the reveal is because, and I haven't done a one-on-one with you just yet about but the thing with with what I love about Scream is, and what I feel like makes it different between Halloween and Friday the 13th and all of those other franchises, is the who and the why behind the mask. And that's very, very important to me in a Scream movie. And if you're just going to have 3 random people from the nut house be the killer, then why take the mask off? Like I don't really care. Like, it's not so much Anna Camp. Anna Camp saves it for me. If it weren't for Anna Camp, I would honestly say that I think this is the worst reveal of the franchise if it were not for Anna Camp, including 5 and 6. But Anna Camp saves it for me, so it would put it in front of 5 and 6 just solely because of Anna Camp. Um, I think Kevin Williamson or someone has said that ending is the only thing that he didn't really rewrite, and I think that shows. I really think that shows. And then Marco, I think his name is, like, I've seen the movie twice and I still can't for sure tell you his name. And so I have an issue with that, but
All right, cool. Well, John, thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate hearing your thoughts and your ranking. I think it's very cool to have all those sequels up front before the original. So,
yes, and I always rate mine based on rewatchability. I love the first one, but it's probably the one of, at least of the original trilogy, that I rewatched the least.
cool. All right, we're gonna head on over now to Ryan B, the other Ryan here. So, Ryan, hey,
Ryan, what's going on?
just sitting here with a bunch of fun patrons. I'm so excited to hear what you think of Scream 7.
So, I ended up going by myself on opening night, and I will say after the first one, it's the most enjoyable movie I've seen in the theater. Hands down, the crowd was really fun to watch it with. A lot of clapping. I did walk out a little upset at first. I'm kind of with John. I had a problem with the ending, but the more I've listened to everybody, and you kind of got me really in check with the whole politics on all the critics' reviews, and it really makes a lot of sense. So the longer I've sat with it, I've only seen it once so far, but the more like my skin's crawling to see it again. So, and I know it comes out to stream on the 31st. You can rent it, I think. So it's marked on my calendar.
Well, I'm excited to hear your thoughts after you see it again. But so, are you saying that the critics' reviews were like a block for you?
No, because I went in blind. I didn't really know um what the reviews were because I was trying just to stay. I didn't want anything spoiled, um, like an OG fan. So, I didn't really know until the next morning because I came home and immediately just listened to like my podcast about it. Some of the complaints that I did hear that I do agree with is how lean it is. And I think we could have thrown a couple extra minutes in just in a couple areas. And my biggest upset, I think at first, was that we didn't actually I really wanted it to just be Stu at that point. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of let down. I think being a Scream fan you're used to such a procedure in these movies, and I think this one flips the motive, and I think you're not used to a motive like this because it's always something more aligned with pop culture or stab franchise, and this is more, I think, personal, kind of going back almost to the first 4 films, the West films. Regardless if you really like it or not, I think it's definitely more personal because Anna Camp, albeit I know she had more screen time than a lot of people thought she did based off of, what she posted, but she still feels like she's not there enough to me. But besides that, I mean, I jumped a whole bunch. I thought the jump scares are great. Loved Gail's entrance. But besides that, it's definitely I think it's my favorite sequel after the trilogy right now.
Well, that's great. What was your favorite scene in the film?
I was really thrown for a loop after the scene at the high school when we get back to Sydney's house. And I knew what was going to happen just from the previews. Kind of like the opening scene, which, the previews show so much of, but they still did such a great job. Like there's still so much more meat on the bones for the opening scene. That is also the same for that scene, when Ghostface is stabbing through the wall. Like that goes on way longer than I anticipated it to happen. And it was just intense. And the whole family unit took me a minute to get on Tatum's good side because I thought, here's this cool, smart young kid, gorgeous, and she just seems a bit clumsy and, weepy through everything. And I know she's not told what, it comes more to light as to why that all is as we watch the movie. It makes more sense. But I think upon more rewatches, it's some of that stuff will kind of like work itself out and I won't be as nitpicky about it.
Of course. So what are your thoughts on our 2 queens, Sydney and Gil?
Oh, perfection.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved them getting the call together. Some people were complaining about Sydney not going back in to get the keys and running to the towns. It's instinctual. She just did what she had to do right away. And it's like, um, I don't know. They're just both such great role models, I think, for women in general. So I'm here for it.
Awesome. Well, so Ryan, where do you think this falls in your ranking right now?
I wrote it down earlier just so I had this on cue. I have this 3-1-2, 7-4-6-5.
How can you argue with that? Sounds pretty perfect to me.
I knew it wouldn't disappoint you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope that you enjoy your second viewing, and I want to hear your thoughts after you actually get another. I mean, I swear to God, guys, like as you watch this movie, because I've seen it 5 times now in theaters, and like each time it's just richer and richer. And I don't know if it's just my fan excitement or just like the satisfaction I have with the story and the characters, but there's just the movie gets better and better, and I think that as people rewatch it over the next couple of weeks, it's going to rise in a lot of people's rankings. So
Definitely, again, I think that opening's the best since the original, and I can't wait to see it 5 times to be on your level, but I know at that point you'll be about 10 more ahead of me, so, we'll get there, slow and steady.
game recognized game, as my good friend says. So,
That's right.
well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
All right, let's go now over to Bria. Hey, Bria.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right.
So, after all the buildup, after your anxiousness leading up to the movie, what did you think?
Okay, so the first viewing, I loved it until the finale. Typically, my favorite part about the Scream movies is the finale, and I just felt a little let down. But I saw the movie 3 times opening weekend, and each time it just got better for me. And I just kind of like pushed like the finale aside a little bit, and like the performances in the finale are phenomenal, but they're not the finales we're used to. But like the movie overall is amazing.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad that you love it. Where would you say it falls in your ranking?
I was thinking about this, and so my ranking is 1, 3, 7, 5, 4, 2, 6.
Love it. Wow, look at that. 1-7. Geez, you're going to give me a heart attack over here.
I know.
Well, so tell me about it. Tell me about Sydney. Tell me about Gail. Tell me about everything.
I absolutely love Sydney in this. I love seeing her as a mom. I love how different they made her from like Laurie Strode in like Halloween 2018 about how like she didn't want to tell Tatum all this stuff because how much trauma she went through. And she just wanted to keep her safe from it. I absolutely loved her and Mark beat Ghostface together. I thought that was amazing. One of my favorite scenes of the movie. And Gail, her entrance, oh my god.
Yeah.
Amazing. When I tell you, I went to go see it with, my mom and my cousin and my best friend, and even my mom at Gail's entrance was, like, clapping, like, "Hell yeah," and she doesn't really, like, into, like, horror movies and whatnot, but even she was like, "Oh, hell yeah," when Gail's entrance, and I loved Gail, I loved their talk about Dewey. I wish they had more they were talked about doing more, but I love to see how Gail was actually trying to cope with it. And I love to see how more vulnerable Gail was.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So, what did you think of the twins, especially as like a five person, right? You know, you're or you've part of like your journey with the podcast has been like you've always been like a huge defender of five. It was like the movie that was like your Scream movie, as you've called it. Like, what did you think of Mindy here in Scream Seven?
I absolutely loved her. She's gotten so much better. Yeah, and Chad, he was a bit kinda, like, not all the way, like, where I wanted him, but I think Mindy really, like, just sells the twins in this movie.
Yeah.
I think she's just phenomenal, and they really just Kevin really wrote her as she should be.
Yeah, I agree. Do you like Tatum? Where do you stand with Tatum, the introduction of a new final girl?
I liked her. I thought that her wanting to know more about Sydney and Sydney, like, trying not to, I thought that was, like, really interesting. I'm kinda sad for Tatum, though, going into the next movie, all her friends are dead. That was sad, but yeah, I really did enjoy Tatum. She was trying to learn and trying to be like her mom the whole movie, and yeah, I really enjoyed her. Isabel May was phenomenal, and yeah, she's amazing.
Awesome. Well, so you mentioned that you didn't love the finale, at least the first watch. Has it gotten better for you as you've rewatched it, or are you just more so basing your love of Seven on the first, 90 minutes?
I've been warming up the finale each watch. I've seen it 4 times in theaters already, so I still don't love what's the guy's name that worked in the psych? Yeah, I felt like we needed more time with him, and I felt like we needed more time with Anna Camp too, but the performance she gives is amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have been warming up to the finale, I have been warming up to the motive because it's not like a motive we're used to, but I like it. I think it goes well with the toxic fandom that, like, we've been talking about for the past several years.
Right. No, I definitely agree with you there. So, one last thing I want to ask you here is about the Mocker House. You've been to the Mocker House. You sent me merch from the Mocker House. You have a big thing with that, a connection with that house, whether it's in Scream 1 or Scream 5. We did the episode on the Scream 1 finale, right? What did you think of the end of the Mocker House?
I'm not gonna lie, that was kinda sad, but I thought the scene was really well done. It
Mhm.
was so funny when I went to go see it the first time and, the guy in the opening was like, "Oh, this is where, like, Richie died, and this is where, Billy died," and my cousin who went to the Mocker House with me, she whispered to me, she was like, "This was you." I was like, "Oh, how embarrassing for me," but no, I thought it was really good. I really loved the opening.
Well, that's great. I love that, and I think it's like I think I know it's hard to swallow that we'll never go back there, but I think it's also a nice tribute to it and a really epic ending to it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Well, Bria, thank you so much. I will have to like do an episode about maybe the opening since it's like your territory of like the Mocker House. So
Okay, I'm down.
cool. Well, Bria, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going over now to my friend Issa. Hey, Issa,
Hi.
how's it going?
All good. How you guys doing?
Good, good, good. Well, tell me, what did you think of Scream 7?
I loved it. Yeah, I'm so happy that we got this movie, honestly. I feel like we've been waiting for so long and so many things happened, but I think we got an amazing movie. Actually very different from the previous sequel that we got, and I think it's one that it's very fun, that is also like gorgeous visually, and that we got a great story with Sydney and Gail on it. I think I really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, so where does it fall for you in your ranking now? What's your new ranking?
No, I'll say it's in the top 3. I'll say it's 2, 1, 7, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, so I remember a post that I made back like a month ago where I asked everybody, where do you predict Scream is going to fall? And I remember you specifically commented, hoping that it would be there. So I'm glad that it met your expectations.
Yeah, yeah, very happy about that, yeah. I really have my doubts.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, mostly in the sense that, I didn't know how the 3rd act was gonna play out. I feel like usually that can change, your opinion about the movie. And when I watched the first time, I liked it, but my reaction was mostly like, huh. I wasn't like confused and I kind of saw it coming, but at the same time it's like, okay, this is different. I have to give it another watch. And I watched it for the second time the day after the release. And now I watched it 3 times now. And I feel like the motive is actually it makes sense to what we know from the first 2 acts of the movie. It's just that once you know the ending, it's easier to notice some Easter eggs and stuff. I know some people criticize that it's not meta or anything, but that's the whole point of this movie. It's not about the movie; it's about Sydney. So
It's interesting, you know, the criticism of this movie is wild to me. Some people say it's too meta, some people say it's not meta enough, some people say it's this. It's just like it's kind of
yeah,
it makes my head spin, and you know, I that's why I kind of put more value into the opinions of the people sitting here, of the people that I know and care about, you know. So I don't know, but so tell me about Sydney and Gail. So just full disclosure, Issa and I have a plan to do an episode about kind of like the evolution of the Final Girls and like specifically how Sydney and Gale fit in there. He proposed that topic to me over a year ago, and I've wanted to save it until after we get Scream 7. But just as a preview, what are your thoughts on our queens here?
well, the queens are ruling. Honestly, I feel like Gail's entrance. It's just so iconic. I guess I remember when I saw it the first time. I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. That was so amazing, and it was so amazing seeing see them bond because I feel like we never got to see them like being really close as friends. We know the relationship got better. Like in 3, they weren't like frenemies anymore. In 4, they were not really. They were getting along, but they were also like not. We didn't see them like bond or anything like that. In 5, it was more like the trauma bond because they lost Dewey, so you see them, like, working together as much, but I don't know, there was something special in this one where we actually get to see them together, and both of them acknowledge that we went through so much together, you know? Like, and even though this ghost face keep coming back, but we're also, like, we're facing them together. And I feel like it adds more value also to the fact that Sydney was not around for the previous one, how guilty she must feel about it. And I do believe that part of the reason she didn't go back to find Gail and the keys and all that stuff is, first of all, because she was desperate to save her daughter. And I feel like a mama bear, that's how exactly what she would react. But also because I think she saw Gail being weaker, physically at least, and she didn't want to like put her in danger either. So I think she was protecting Gail.
The emphasis on Sydney's guilt, you know, like for me, the scene where Gail, like, you know, she's grabbing her shoulder and she's taking the pills, trying to hide them, and her hands shaking earlier. And but even Sydney sees it when she's putting the microphone on. Like those scenes, they hurt. I am actually stunned by the emotional power of those scenes. I can't thank Kevin Williamson enough for emphasizing those moments and giving us a real consequence to Gail and Six, but also an emotional connection for Sydney to latch on to Gail and like a resolution to it. I just think it's so beautiful. I'm shocked even that we're sitting here with Gail Weathers, you know, rubbing her shoulders and like, you know, taking those pills. It's just like such a bold thing to do. I couldn't be happier about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice seeing like both sides of Gail because we both know that Gail can be very fierce, but she's also very vulnerable and she's very sensitive. And we get to see her, both sides of her in the same movie. And I feel like that's amazing.
So what do you think of the killer played by Anna Camp?
Well, I saw it coming, but I do agree that maybe a little bit, even just a few seconds of her a little earlier in the movie would have helped. I feel like there was a nice moment when Gail meets her and her son. Like maybe an interesting exchange between both of them could have been interesting. Maybe like moving the suspicion onto Gail because there are still theories, you know, that Gail could have been behind it and everything. And I feel like that would have been a nice play out. But I think Anna Kim just did such a great job in the performance that it's like, okay, we could have gotten a little bit more of her previously to the reveal, but she did great. Honestly, she ate it. And I feel like the motive, like I said, it makes sense to what the movie was about. And also, Scream has this history of unintentionally kind of showing the changes that are coming, you know, kind of like a premonition, even though it's hard to know what's coming. But at Scream 4, the whole idea of killing to be famous was also kind of like looked down on, be oh, that's not serious enough. And nowadays it's completely common. Scream 5 was about toxic fandoms, and that week, unfortunately, saw that happening. So I feel like that also the whole parasocial relationship, it's a real thing, and I feel like it's interesting how it's shining a light on that, and how many people actually usually ignore it and feel like it's not something serious. But it does happen, and a lot of people can lose track of what's real and what's not because they feel like they know these people. And I think I love, like in all the posters and stuff and doing marketing that says "Face Your Past." I think like it was a little bit to feed on us that it was, oh my God, it's true. You know, we're going back to the beginning. But I think like it's what just a subtle way of Sydney to face her past so she can show it to her daughter and they can like actually bond. But it wasn't like a literally she had to face the first killer she had or anything like that. So I think that's why it makes so much sense.
No, it does. That's a beautiful observation, right? It's the she's literally facing Stu or this AI version of Stu, and then Roman, Mrs. Loomis, and Dewey, and then but the real past that she's facing is being able to talk about her past with her daughter. You know,
Yeah,
that's the
exactly. Mhm.
beautiful thing.
Like she moved on from the trauma, but at the same time she's keeping something and she says it in the movie. Instead of making her daughter stronger, she's making her weaker because
Right.
you cannot fight what you don't know. So it was a very interesting relationship that she had with her daughter. I honestly was expecting her to be more when we got the trailer with the whole panic room and stuff. I thought she was gonna like train her more into be more like to train her more into fighting and stuff. I kind of was expecting her to take her to self-defense lessons or something like that. But I also understand Sydney's approach of being like, I want her to have a happy childhood in a small town and just be just a happy young girl because that's what she wasn't able to be. So I really liked the relationship. And I did cry more than once when we had that moment in the end when she talks about Tatum because I love Tatum, you know. So I thought that was great.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the speech about Tatum Riley at the end is gorgeous and just kind of like a real shocking thing. A Scream movie has never ended on a big speech like that, so it's very cool. Well, Issa, thank you so much. I look forward to doing our big episode about the final girls and the evolution. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
really great in a couple weeks here. So we'll be in touch. Cool. Well, thank you for coming. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over now to my friend Detective Wallace. Hey, Al.
Hey, hey,
Oh my
good we
God.
have a working camera.
I know. I can actually see you.
No, I was shocked. I don't if you saw the look on my face when I turned the camera on, I was like, "Oh my god, it actually worked."
Well, Allie, oh my gosh, we got Scream 7 finally.
I know. I don't know.
You're mixed.
I'm still mixed. Granted, I still have only seen it once. Literally 2 days after it came out, we started moving, and the weekends have been too busy with stuff, so, like, I haven't had a chance to go see it again. I think some stuff has settled with me better a little more. I really liked the opening. I wish we had more
Okay.
of it. I do love like, the suspense of it, like, she's standing there and you just see his face kind of in the background, and then he backs up in the dark. I liked the playfulness of it, and, by the way, that guy 100% would be me if I ever get to that house. Like, that's like Bria, like, I'd be nerding out. I just wish that we'd gotten more chase out of the opening because I feel like we saw him chasing her. We saw that good stuff in the trailer.
Right.
And we got too much of that right off the bat. I don't know. I like the opening though. It sits a little bit better with me now than it did when I first saw it. I love Sydney as a mom. I love that we get to see that relationship. I don't really know how I feel about Isabel May. I've never seen her in anything before. And this was my first experience with her. She did great. But I liked their rapport. I liked them as, the mother feisty teen, kind of, shh, be quiet. As you know, before the movie came out, was not happy about Mark being
Yeah.
recast. I did like Athena. I did like Joel McHale.
Good.
Which is a phrase I never thought I'd say because haven't generally liked him in anything. But I liked their relationship a lot. I liked that you got the sense that he was just like, I get what she's been through. And like, he had no, I feel like anybody else, like after the thing in the school and, she's there and she's got her gun drawn and she's firing away and stuff. And he just comes in and he's like, cool, where'd it go? Like, he was just, like, rolling with it, like, I feel like anybody else would be like, "Whoa, babe, like, tone it down." I feel like he gets her level of intensity about her past and what's happening, so I really like that about them. I love Gail. The scream I scrumped with that scene, with the car, I lost it. That was amazing. The thing that kinda unsettles me is the, like, AI deep fake. I get it because this is, where we're at or whatever, and it was really the only plausible way to bring him back. I don't know. Anna Camp plays crazy great. There's no doubt. I kind of, with the reveal, was just like, of course it's them. Like, I don't know who that I was necessarily expecting it to be anybody else. I kinda got to the point where, and you know me, I'm a Stu is dead. I'm not a Stu truther at all. I don't buy into that in any way, but I almost feel like that they should have gone, if they were gonna go through the effort of they burned down the house and they're using deep fake to pretend it's him. I almost feel like they should have just gone with, "She's Leslie." Like, I get that that would probably be hard to play off because, like, surely Sydney would know what his sister looks like, right? Like, after all this time, and, even if she maybe wasn't around when, Sydney was in high school or whatever, you could play it off like that. But I feel like that's, and I have seen the conspiracy theory of like, well, Stu in the first AI video has a scar right here, and in the other calls he doesn't. So I feel like that kind of could be an opening for whoever takes over for 8.
Mhm.
I'm assuming there's going to be an 8. They'd be stupid not to because it's made a truckload of money. I feel like that could give them an opening to do that, to say it really was Stu in the first call and the other ones were his like minions, and I don't know. It feels a little messy. I was underwhelmed with the reveal. And I don't, like I said, Anna Camp is crazy, great, crazy. I do like that they very almost specifically don't give you very many scenes with either of them
Right.
early, like throughout the movie. So it almost feels like they're just people there, like they're they're just like people um that you maybe wouldn't suspect them. But like I get the, like, what's the point of burning down the house? I get it, it's like moving on, and like that's where the house, like burning down the house makes more sense to me if it was Leslie and Stu, or Leslie in revenge for Stu, and like that piece would have tied together better for me as a burning down the past. I get what they're doing, the steps that they did this, and they stole this paperwork and they did whatever to make them think that it's Stu, to kind of like mind fuck them, like Sydney and Gail. And I get it. Like, I don't know, it just felt a little messy to me. I loved the nostalgia of the movie, the music, especially, not just like, I did like the Einstein Kills song. I had not heard it until the video played beforehand, and I happened to go see it with a couple of friends who are massive Ice Nine Kills fans. So he was like extra pumped, and he's like, "You need to listen to more of their stuff." But the score, the ties to the original, the score was phenomenal. I wanted more chasing. I liked what we got, and the suspense. Ghostface hiding in the house with the coming down from the attic, and that whole scene um, was great. I really hope that they went back and got Sydney's jacket from the crawl space.
I'm sure.
That gives me a lot of stress. That they left it in there. I hope they went back and got it. I really liked the teen cast. I really only knew McKenna Grace and, was it Chloe?
Yeah.
The other friend. From Ghostbusters and stuff. I liked the kills a lot. They were really good, except for, I I like the creativeness of the beer keg. The CGI beer coming out of the mouth was that lost it for me. I feel like they could have done a better job with like a practical effect in some way. And that just felt, I was like, oh, that's really oh, okay, I'm done. I liked what we got. Like I said, I need to watch it more.
Well,
I just haven't had time.
yeah. Well, I would love to check back in with you once you have seen it again, and just to kind of see where your thoughts are after you can binge it a couple of times on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, and as far as like my ranking, honestly, I think it falls, and I don't even know what the last time I ranked my stuff was. I know it's always 3, then 1. Honestly, I think right now it's gonna be 3, 1, 4, 2, 7, 5, 6-ish.
Okay.
I mean, me, it bounces around a lot because I do enjoy rewatching 5 and 6, and I think that 7 will bump back up. I know I had predicted that it would fall higher up in the top half of my ranking. I think it'll get there. I think I just need some more time. I think I need more viewings. And
I hope you get to see it again soon, and I'm excited to hear your updated thoughts. So,
yay.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thanks, Al. All right, Patrick. Patrick Leahy.
I'm just a disembodied voice right now, but I'm here.
So finally, we get to be soul sisters.
I know. I'm so excited.
So hit me with it.
I have to kick off my excitement, my speech with acknowledging exactly that we have Ryan on 3, me on 6, and somehow 7 has brought our kindred spirits together in the most beautiful way. Well, my fingers are tired because I have been ranting about this film in the chat for like weeks, as you all know. I feel like this is the most rewatchable Scream since the original for me. Like, as I saw it at the fan event. I went with like 6 friends, many on opening on Thursday night. And many of them are like not even really Scream fans, but they're my friends. So they're like, okay, you love this, so I'm gonna go with you. We all loved it. Like, we all had an amazing freaking time. And like, even me and my one other friend who are like diehard Scream fans, and then the ones who are like a little more lukewarm on the franchise, we all came away with it in our top 3. Like, it was, I had a great time. The first thing I'll say is, I know on the whole Mark Kincaid of it all, I can't, because Patrick Dempsey has been on my mind the last few days. I'm like, I couldn't see Mark Kincaid in a small Indiana town. Like, he's a
Yeah.
California boy. I don't know if I would buy Sydney and Mark Kincaid in a small hometown, small whatever. Joel McHale has a very like, he was the boy next door. Like, I'm sure he was probably like the all-star athlete of a small town, grew up, never left his hometown, whatever. Maybe was Sydney living in Pine Grove in Scream 4? We don't know.
Right.
I mean, she may have been. Anyway, I mean, well, technically she had to have been because, I mean, anyway, that's a whole other debacle. Anyway, I really do wish my one biggest bump, I would say right now, is I do wish we had one more scene with Jessica where she was a little more, like, we got a little bit more of the manipulation of her relationship with Sydney. Like, she seemed to be Sydney's apparently best friend. We didn't really meet any of her other friends besides Gail in this one. So I wish we would have seen a little bit more of the dynamic of their relationship. I get they were bonding over motherhood, which was awesome. But I wish we would have just seen Jessica like acknowledge her love for Sydney a little more, that was like planting that seed. And I wish that they would have tied the burning of the house down in a little bit more. I feel like it was very subtly implied, the reasoning why Stu's house had to be burnt down, but it's kind of something I had to puzzle together after watching it a couple times. So I do think it makes sense. I just wish it would have had a little bit more of a light shined on it. All that to say, this movie personally gave me everything have wanted in a Scream movie for like the last 10 years. Like, I wanted the emotion. Like, we come to these movies to watch these characters that we love, and I just feel like 5 didn't give me emotion, 6 didn't really give me emotion. Obviously, Sydney wasn't even in it. I was a little bit, again, here I go on my 6 whatever, but I feel like if Quinn hadn't been the twist killer of 6, I would have probably hated the entire finale. Quinn like held that together for me. But I there was a part of me that was like, oh, it's just like a family again. So that's honestly, sorry, I'm a little bit jumping all over the place, but I'm gonna come to the killer reveal's defense, because as another part of what I've wanted from a Scream movie, besides like the emotion and the character development and that kind of thing, I wanted them to do something kind of random with the killers, because it's like, okay, how many times can we see a disgruntled family member or a revenge plot? Like, we've seen everything that's been done before. I don't know how you do that. Like, to me, I don't know how you do another ending as shocking as 4. Like, Jill being the killer was like so epic that to me, it's like, okay, we've done pretty much everything you can do. Now it makes sense to me that these random psychos from a psych ward would want to kill Sydney. Like, it just
Yeah.
it makes sense to me. And I liked that it was like that Marco was kind of unpredictable. When they were first visiting him at the psych ward, I was like, well, I guess if Stu is dead, then he would definitely be in on this by like planting the seeds that he is still alive or whatever. So I had that thought, but I kind of just forgot about him. So I liked that it was these characters that we hadn't even seen or thought about in a while, with the exception that I felt like I wish Jessica got a little bit more development. Anyway, I loved the early killer reveal. Literally, my entire theater erupted. Like, I was screaming. Like, I was unabashedly, like, so loud in that fan event. I was, like, throwing my Ghostface popcorn bucket in the air. I should have been kicked out. I just think and one very little tiny detail I think for me is worth mentioning that also made me think, "Oh, it makes sense that there's, like, randoms." So, of course, we see Carl in the coffee shop, but then a little bit later, when she gets the call from fake Stu, and then she gets in the car and she calls Mark. I loved the randomness of how we just see Sydney living her life, and then out of the blue, a random psycho is calling her and wants to kill her. Like, that just felt very organic to me because I'm like, everyone knows who Sydney Prescott is. Like, it's honestly kind of surprising to me that more people aren't like fucking with her, more random people. And so when she's in the car on the way calling Mark, she's like, Mark, get to the school. There's a killer going for Tatum. She says a killer as if it's like, oh, there's just another killer. Like, could be anybody, but it's there. Like, this is our lives. Like, we attract killers. And so just that phrasing of like, there's a killer, not another killer necessarily, but I was like, this person, she might not even know this person for all we know. Like, this is just someone who's out to get her because she's Sydney Prescott. I loved that. So to me, where the Stu's house being burnt down and the randomness of Jessica and Marco and all that comes together very subtly in Mindy's monologue, where she's like really tying in that this is someone obsessed with Sydney, not Stab, and Stu's house represents where Sydney, the heroine, was really born. So again, it's like little things like that that you pick up on, but I wish there would have been more meat behind like why they chose Stu to kind of like fuck with Sydney. But anyway,
So what is your new ranking?
okay, 7, I've seen it 4 times now. I think I'm gonna see it a 5th. I'm at 127 tied for slot number 2 for me.
Woot.
Yeah, I just feel like ever since 2, this movie gave me like the emotion that I've been craving. And then from there, yeah, man, I've been really trying to narrow this down. I think it's 6, 4, 3.
Well,
3 3 is moving up. 5, the more I think about 5, the more it pisses me off. So I'm settling on that.
That's the Ryan C. Showers effect right there.
It is. It totally is.
Well, Patrick, I love to hear it, and I love your reaction to 7. We should definitely talk about the randomness of the killers on a show.
Yes, definitely. I would love that.
All right, everybody, let's hear now from my friend, Brett Janovich. Hey, Brett.
Hi, Ryan. I have not been this excited for a Scream movie since 2011. That's a decade ago.
Yeah, it is. Well, so I have to ask now, what is your current ranking?
My current ranking will still be it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 are tied as third place. 7, 5, then Apocalypse, Death, 6.
Awesome. Oh my God. You're traditional. Well, tell me, what did you like about Scream 7?
I have to say I loved Sydney and Gail and their dynamic in this one because we've never seen Sydney coming from everything that she has endured in her past has led to her being a mother, and we've never seen her in her mother era like this before, where she has a daughter and she has a family now. She has 3 daughters, and even granted that 2 of them are out of town, but this makes it more different because the killer is not only just after her, but now her family is now involved in all this.
Well, so Brett, tell me about what did you think of Isabel May as Sydney's daughter?
She absolutely killed it as the daughter. Like, I did not think that she would be able to pull this off at first, but I kind of actually had a lot of faith in her actually, even though I've never really watched her and other stuff. This one, she shined so much
Awesome.
as Sydney's daughter.
What did you think of Gail Weathers?
Oh, Mother Gail had it. She had it all. She was servants. Like, she just did not. It was back to the Gail that we all knew and loved from 1 through 4, and she was not giving 2 fucks about them reporters who just came at her, and she's just like, "Fuck off, fuck the fuck off, and get the fuck out of my like." That's the Gail Weathers I knew and loved.
It absolutely is. Well, so what was your favorite scene in Scream 7?
Well, there's just so many, but I have to say my favorite scene in this entire movie was definitely the first, well, not the first kill, but the third kill was the most beautifully done pieces. Every time I watch it, it's it just gets better and better. That kill just gets Hannah's death gets so much better and better. I love it so much. From like because she's the way she's swinging and then her body comes into the light a little bit. It's just it's so scary, but the whole scene feels so personal that it's still making me think that it actually wasn't. Are we allowed to do spoilers? Because I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I strongly don't think that Jessica was the one who did that.
Okay. So do you think there's a third killer, or do you think that, like what do you
I
think?
think it was because from what we've seen, I still think it was I really strongly think it was Stu. I still think he's alive because they keep hinting it. That
Yeah.
the files, where the files go, they're missing. She called the morgue or the person who's supposed to have the files, those are missing, and the person who had them, she died 3 years prior. So
Yeah.
where did these files go on Stu? Like, where are they? Who has
Well
them? Because in the end, they never during the monologue, they don't touch up on that.
well, so I have to ask, you mentioned Jessica here. What did you
Mhm.
think of Anna Camp as the
Oh, she played that role down to a T. I loved it, especially in the whole monologue thing. She is more psychotic than Jill was. Like, my god.
I know, I know.
My god, I have never seen Sydney fight a bitch like this.
Well, Brett, any final thoughts you wanna share about Scream 7? Anything you have, like, specifically that you're especially passionate about?
That it's just so good. And the music and everything. We got Ice Nine Kills, we got Sirocco in it, Stella, I don't know who her last name is, but the singer Stella, and it's just everything you want in a scream movie. It's literally everything that you want that you would want from the 1 through 4 era.
Mhm.
It has it all.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and I'm really happy that you loved it. I'm happy that it was a great experience. Anything you wanna share before we go about Sydney?
This is the best Sydney yet from by far. It's so reminiscent of the 1 through 4 era that in this one, when it comes down to her family, but
Yeah.
this is the Sydney you do not wanna fuck with.
Brett, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about Scream 7, and I'm so happy that you loved it.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over now to a new Patreon to the podcast. Everyone, please welcome my friend Trenton. Hey, Trent.
Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Trenton. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Why don't you tell me about Scream 7?
I liked it. I really did. I went to go see it with my mom. When I first heard that, Nev Campbell was coming back and Kevin Williams was directing, I was like, yes, I'm ready for this movie. And then I'm going to the theater and I'm excited. I'm clapping. I especially clapped and like yelled when Gail came in, like when her entrance, and I was like, I was over the moon. I was over the moon with the movie overall.
That's great. That's great. What did you think of Sydney?
Sydney Prescott, Nat Campbell, she is phenomenal. She did her thing. I, watching, because I watched 1 through 6 in 1 week. And just seeing her grow from this teenager who lost her mother and now she's gotta be a mother herself. And the scenes where she's like, first scene we see Sydney in, she knows Ben, like she's like, I know this game, I know Ben is behind the bed, don't play with me, and her, Nev Campbell's acting, she's wonderful. I love Sydney Prescott. She's like probably my number one.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm glad. Well, did you like the daughter played by Isabel May?
When Isabel May was cast as Tatum's, everybody thought it was gonna be McKenna Grace, but I was like, but then I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is the right casting for Tatum. She looked exactly like Neve Campbell, especially in the eyes.
Well, Trenton, what is your new Scream ranking now that Scream 7 is here?
Okay, so this is pretty easy. It's 1, 2, 5, 7, 4, 6, 3.
Cool. I like it. I like the 5 love there, and that 7 is kind of smack in the middle.
Yeah, 5, because it was the first Scream movie I saw in the theaters, and I just liked the movie, and that was a special place in my heart.
I'm sure. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming tonight. It was a really nice Zoom. It was nice to hear everyone and kind of celebrate this movie that we've been waiting for months and months. And I am so excited to, kind of go into the future with this movie, and see how everybody evolves with it over time. So, All right. Well, everybody, thank you. We will see you next time.
All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!
Dear God, Ryan,